Hi, I'm Kathy. Welcome to Duality Unfolding. This week I wanted to do something a little bit different for the tarot card reading. So, this reading is going to be on money, but I wanted to offer like some tangible tips for things that I've used to save money, to make money, to invest money. As a disclaimer, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial advisor. So what I'm going to share with you is just stuff that has helped me as a regular person to save a little bit of extra money. And the reason that I'm sharing this is because I think all of us are aware that like the economy is kind of in this weird place right now, right? Where like inflation went up for a while and it's kind of leveled out, or it's maybe even going down at this point. But things are still really expensive, right? And like the costs that, or not the cost, but like the wages that people are earning haven't really increased for like the average person, right? For like the regular person. Like if you're a CEO, you're probably not watching this, but if you're a CEO, then your wages, like your bonuses have increased like a ridiculous amount. But if you're a regular person, depending on the industry that you're in, you're like the money that you make hasn't gone up very much. And so because of because of the state of our economy right now, there's a lot of things that I think regular people are not aware of that they can take advantage of. And I understand that a big heavy sigh is because I understand that saving money is a luxury. But I also feel like because of the state of the economy right now and the way that interest rates can work in the favor of the person saving money, I wanted to share this. So I feel like that's kind of a lot of words. So as we go through this, I'll kind of explain like what I'm talking about and how it can benefit you. Also, there's timestamps in the reading. So if you are not interested in any of this tangible money stuff, or if you want to watch the reading first and come back to it, the timestamps for the portion to pick your reading and then for each reading will be in the description. So you can totally skip over this and I'll never know and it won't hurt my feelings. Even if you leave a comment and you're like, that too much info, lady. No thanks. Stick to reading cards. Show us crystals. Whatever. I'll go over this a little bit more when we do like the pick a card portion, but this reading is going to focus on abundance. So I'm going to pull cards from 5 different decks. So I will show you one card from each deck so that you can pick the reading that you want, or if you're drawn to more than one. As always, you can read it or you can watch as many as you like. But I will be pulling cards on how are you already abundant, because I think it's important for us to be aware of the abundance that's already around us so that we can be grateful for it. I feel like gratitude is a really powerful emotion, and that when we're grateful for things and when we intentionally choose to be grateful, it's very easy for us to see how all those things are around us and to see, like I call it collecting evidence, to collect evidence for more ways that our lives are abundant. Because I feel like that, excuse me, I feel like being aware of the abundance that is in our lives already is something that's really nourishing. And it's also something that's free, right? And free is important. I will also be pulling cards on how to draw in more financial abundance, because we're talking about money in this reading, right? That like energetic abundance is great, but like we need money in everyday life, right? So like if you're watching this reading, like maybe you want to figure out how to save money just to save it, because we all need money. Maybe you want to save for something. Maybe like you're trying to save it for like that dream house or that dream vacation or whatever, or even something small, right? Like if you have like a specific pair of shoes, like if you're a sneakerhead and you know that you want these shoes that are coming out and you have an idea of how much they're going to be, like how do I save up those like $250? I'll also be pulling cards on how you can get clear on why you want more abundance. And so the reason I think that it's important for us to understand why we want more money is because we can manifest whatever we want, right? So we can manifest like in the highest, like in the highest vibration, like highest level of thinking, we can manifest, let's say like $10,000. But why do you want it? Because you can get $10,000 and you can spend it really quick, right? So if you're wanting to manifest money just to spend it, just to have that experience, then there's really not going to be a lot of value in understanding the why, because you already know. But, you know, I think sometimes when we want to draw in like more money, like we do have those, you know, we have those small things where it's like, I really want to pay off some debt, or I really want to take that dream vacation, or I just don't want to be kind of like scraping by and like stressed out. And so, you know, understanding like why we want to draw in more abundance, and also like the things that are below the surface, right? That like, yes, we want to be able to like pay our bills on time because we want that sense of security. But I feel like money is connected, like money and relationships and like our worth, they're all connected to all parts of our life. So there's going to be things that come up in this reading that, yes, we're talking about money, but there's going to be other things that come up that have to do with your money mindset that are not really just about like your bank account and how much you earn at work. Okay. So I'm going to go through some tangible tips. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice because I'm not qualified to do that. What I am doing is sharing with you the things that have worked for me and the things that you can take advantage of right now because of what's going on in like the stock markets and like the economy, and also like the way that the Fed sets like interest rates and how that affects everything. So the first thing that I would like to suggest, and it's something that like my money coach, I worked with a money coach in 2018, and she helped me go through a lot of things that were tangible, you know, like setting up a budget. And I know a lot of people don't like budgeting because it feels like a diet, but like there's things in my budget for like little luxuries, right? So like I budget for a massage because that's something that I need. I budget for like entertainment, right? And so that's kind of this catch-all thing where it's like if it's something that's entertaining to me, like essentially like a waste of money, I have a budget for it. It's like $50 that like I can just waste money on, you know. Maybe I want to buy a book, or like I don't know, or like another tarot card deck because I don't have enough. But you know, and then I also have like things budgeted for like health insurance and like all these kind of normal things. And then one of the other things that she taught me was to budget each, you know, because your budget is typically something you do monthly. So it's something like once a month you're going to pay rent. Once a month you're going to pay your water bill. You're going to pay electricity, pay car insurance, pay a car payment if you have one. One of the things that she taught me that is connected to this first tip is to look at the things that I pay out once a year, right? So some people pay car insurance once a year. For me, like some of those things were subscriptions, right? So I have an Amazon Prime subscription, and so it's like every year it goes up, but I feel like it's like almost like what, like $150 now. And so could I just pay $150 out of my check when it's due? I could. But what she taught me to do was to look at those things, those subscriptions that you have that are due once a year. And some of those things are like, I think I have like a meditation app that I pay once a year. There's certain things I pay once a quarter, like pest control. And so looking at those things and parsing them out for the year, right? So if I look at my Amazon Prime membership, it's $150. I divide that by 12 and it comes out to whatever number it is. And then every month, let's say it's, I don't know, let's say it's like $22 or something like that, which public math, don't come for me. But so every month I take $22 and I put it into, tip number one, a high yield savings account. So a high yield savings account is a savings account that has a much higher interest rate than a normal savings account. So if you have a bank account or a credit union account, and you have a savings account with your bank or credit union, like the interest rate's usually pretty low, like less than 1%. And so with a high yield savings account right now, because the Fed has set the interest rate for things like mortgages, they're like really high right now, like almost 7%, because they're trying to stop people from spending as much money, like taking out loans, right? And so because that interest rate is so high, what has happened is it's also in turn caused high yield savings account interest rates to rise. So at your regular bank or credit union, you might get like 0.8% on your savings. So what that means is whatever money you save every month, your bank or credit union will pay you 0.8% of the total amount that's in that account. And so with a high yield savings account, some of them are, I want to say like around 4%. So 4% doesn't seem like a lot of money, right? So it's like if you have $100 in that account, at the end of the month, they're going to pay you $4 in interest, right? Which doesn't seem amazing, except for that's $4 free. And so that's why I love high yield savings accounts, because a lot of them have like zero minimum to open. So if you have $1, you can open one. A lot of them are online, and so they can charge, or they can offer higher interest rates because they're not paying for like a brick and mortar building like a traditional bank or credit union. This is a way for you to let your money make money. So to go back to what my money coach taught me, if I'm putting $22 into a high yield savings account for my Amazon Prime membership every month, that's $22, $44, $88, whatever, it keeps going up. So when that balance goes up, that 4% of that balance is higher. So the more money I save, the more money I put in that account, the more money they're paying me back in interest. And so if you're able to, and like I said in the beginning, I understand that saving is a luxury. But a lot of these high yield savings accounts, like they have like automatic deduction that you can set up, or you can do the transfer yourself if you need, like, if that feels more comfortable for you. But the more money you put in there, that's more money that you have that's making money for you, right? So if you think of all your little dollar bills as like little like little Oompa Loompas in like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like each one of those little Oompa Loompa dollar bills is making you interest, right? So the more you have, like the more interest you're making, or the more interest that you're earning, that you're collecting, right? And so the reason this is important is because when the housing market, I want to say like around the time of like 2021, I think, when everybody was starting to move, like the interest rates for mortgages were still pretty low, like around 3%, and like I said, now they're like 7, depending on your credit, depending on the bank. But so those high yield savings account interest rates were really low, so your money wasn't making as much money in interest as it could, but now they're really high, right? So before they were like, I want to say at the lowest it was like 1.9, which is still, that's better than a bank, but now they're like 4%, right? So it's like, that's a huge influx, and these things change, but saving is important, right? Because we don't know, everything is so unstable in the world, and like you don't know when something's going to come up. And I feel like with Murphy's Law, if I don't even remember what it is now that I'm sharing it, it's essentially like the worst case situation is probably going to happen if you're not prepared, right? And so it's, to me, like a savings account is essentially like insurance, that like when you don't have insurance, then you end up needing it. And then when you have insurance, it's more likely that you won't need it. And so, worst case situation, you have money at your disposal to spend. So obviously I'm a saver. So I'm gonna like always be a proponent for savings. But to go back to the high yield savings accounts, like you can Google high yield savings account and you can see all the banks that come up. I have an account with Ally. I really like how their online, their app is set up. And also, like, if you have people in your life that love you and send you checks for your birthday or Christmas or whatever, like you can deposit them online, which is my favorite, because where I live, I don't have a bank. So I don't even know how to cash a check, like if you don't go to like a bank or a credit union. Because I don't even have checks. Like I can't remember the last time I used a check. So you can Google high yield savings account and you can find all the different ones that are available. One of the things that you should be aware of with a high yield savings account is that it's not like a regular bank account where you get like a bank card, like a debit card, you don't get a card with it. So it's just an online bank where you transfer money. So the pro is that it's harder to spend the money because you kind of can't really access it. So if you're someone that saves money and like will spend it right away, this might be a benefit for you. Again, start small so you're not freaking out that you don't have $25 to spend on like whatever you want to spend your money on. The cons are that like when you do need the money, like, and you do a transfer, it does take a couple days. So if that does not feel like it works for you, I have another solution, which is tip number 2, which is a money market account. And so a money market account is kind of similar to a high yield savings account. It's another type of savings account. Many of them are $0 to open, like they don't have a minimum. But the ones that have a higher interest rate usually come with some kind of minimum to open. So I'm about to open one with Vio Bank, which is another online bank. They have a minimum $100 deposit to open an account, but the interest rate is 5%. And the bonus with a money market account is that you can get a debit card, or some of them offer checks, but I feel like people aren't really into checks these days. So if you need access to that money, but you want that money to make money while it's there, a money market account might be the way to go. Because you have that debit account and you can use it, you know, if you need to spend money, or if you want to use it just for an emergency account when you need, you know, when you have an emergency and you need to spend that money, you can. Sorry, I have a cat running around in here. She's excited about money. So as I said earlier, a lot of online banks are able to offer better rates because they don't have, you know, like a physical building that they're paying for. But one thing to be aware of, whether you choose a money market account or you choose a high yield savings account, is to make sure that that bank or credit union is insured. So this is going to be a little bit boring, unless you're not into money, then this whole thing's probably been boring. But with banks, there is, you've probably seen it before, maybe you've kind of heard it and like didn't really pay attention, but banks will talk about being FDIC insured. And so FDIC it's a federal insurance that protects the bank, that the bank purchases from the federal government to protect the depositor, and the depositor is the account owner, which is you. If you have an account at a bank that is FDIC insured, what that means is that they will guarantee that you are insured for up to $250,000. If you go with a credit union, you want the credit union to be NCUA insured. It's the same thing. So they're both federal insurance that the bank or the credit union goes through the federal government to get, to be able to tell you as an account owner, as a member, because with a credit union, you're a member. At a bank, you're an account owner, to let you know that up to $250,000 of your money is insured. So, and this is important because we saw, when was it, in May? I don't know why my brain is saying that it was around Memorial Day, but that could be wrong. But we saw the 2 banks that closed. One was a Silicon Valley Bank, and I can't remember which the other bank was. If you are old enough to remember the 2008 like housing crisis and the big bank bailout, like this is important, because if you put your money into a bank that is not FDIC insured, or you put your money into a credit union that is not NCUA insured, and something happens where that bank has to be bailed out by the government or just goes away and closes down, your money is not protected. And so, like I said, that's up to $250,000. So whether you have $10 in there or you have that $250,000, that insurance says that whatever happens to this bank, you will get your money. So that's why that's really important. And this is not something that you have to purchase, right? This is something that the bank is offering. It's almost like, it's like when you go to a restaurant and they put their health code or health report up, and it's like, hey, we got a 99. Then it's like, oh, okay, I can eat here and I don't have to worry about getting food poisoning. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, hey, we've done our due diligence to make sure that your tummy is taken care of if you eat here, or we've done our due diligence to make sure that the money you're investing with us is protected. And so that this is kind of getting into legalities, right? And so I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about the importance of like financial advising. And so one thing that I think people aren't really aware of is that if you choose to go through a financial advisor, which sounds like something that you would do if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's not. If you have any kind of money that you want to grow or that you want to protect, like you can talk to a financial advisor. Once you start to get into investing money, I think one thing that's really important to look at is that you work with a fiduciary. And so a fiduciary is somebody that is legally required to put your interest before their commission, before their investment firm's interest, before anything. So a fiduciary is required by law to make the best financial decisions for you and for your account that they're managing. And so I bring up the importance of financial advising because this last tip that I have for you is about retirement savings, which sounds very not woo-woo and very boring and very not spiritual. But the reason that I bring it up is because, like, if you Google, today is the 23rd of July 2023. If you Google pensions right now, there is quite a few articles from businesses talking about how they can no longer offer pensions to their employees when those employees, and these are like people that are coming up on their 30 years of employment when they're about to collect their pensions, because of the financial state of things, because of the economy, because of inflation, because of a number of different things. If you like documentaries, there's a really good documentary on, it's the PBS app, or you can go to PBS, or maybe it's Frontline on YouTube, but on the PBS app, or on Frontline's YouTube channel, and you can look up the Frontline episode about pensions for law enforcement and how, like, it's kind of heartbreaking, but a lot of like police departments, like they had either hired people who were not like certified financial advisors that weren't fiduciaries to manage their police department's pension, and so like you look at some of these police departments, like, and some of them might be kind of small towns, right? So you have like maybe 100 employees, or really big cities where you have thousands of employees. And these, police officers, they're choosing who they're appointing to manage their accounts, and they don't know, right? And so I think that's the hard thing with money, is like a lot of us don't know these things, and there's a lot of shame around money. There's a lot of fear around money. And I feel like I think my whole goal with this is just to offer some information that's really empowering, because you are working really, really hard for your money, and you are entitled, whoever you're working with, that like your bank, your credit union, if you're working with an investment firm to like invest in retirement savings, like you're entitled to ask questions about how these things work. And I would love to just empower you with the confidence to ask those questions, because if you were carrying around a wallet or a purse and you had money in there and someone stuck their hand in, wouldn't you ask, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so close to me? Two, what are you doing reaching your hand in here? I feel like that's the same energy when we talk to, like an investment professional about like our money. Like, okay, so what happens to my money? Or like, where does this go? Or how does this work? Right? Because I feel like money is like its own energetic entity, right? Like it's a being, in my opinion. Like a lot of people say that money is just energy. And I mean, I guess I kind of feel the same way maybe about like food or like nature, that like it's an energy, like, right? Food has its own energy, right? And so we're very conscious of like what we eat. You have people that like they don't eat processed food, or they only eat organic vegetables, or other people that like they don't really care. They just eat what tastes good. But the things that we're consuming, we put intention to them because they have energy and there's value in that energy. And I feel like we can take that same stance with money, right? That like whenever money comes up, like I will tell people like I love money and like money loves me. I think once I did a lot of work with that money coach around like what the things were that I was afraid about money, and my mindset about money, there was a lot of fear that I had, and there was a lot of withholding, that like a lot of control, right? That like I have to save because I have to. And it was like, whoa, what's that about? And there was very little enjoyment, right? So it was kind of like my relationship with money was, it was like this thing that I had to like catch and trap because the world is scary and I don't know when I'm going to need it, and like, if you think about money as a person, like nobody wants to be like kidnapped and locked in a basement, which is what my relationship with money was, which is not awesome, And so like once I learned to kind of work through a lot of that like emotional stuff, then I learned that like, okay, I can have a balanced, healthy relationship with money, just like you can have a balanced, healthy relationship with food, where it's like you don't have to live off salad. Like you can have some cake, and there's times that maybe you need to eat half a cake because it's just like a real bad day, or there's a cake eating contest. I don't know. Or, whatever your reason is, but like that there's flexibility, right? That we can't always like withhold sugar from our diet because, we have to control our bodies or whatever our thing is. Just like with money, like I can't always just save it and not enjoy it because money doesn't want that for me, and it doesn't want to come around. So it's like, as I learned to get more comfortable with like saving to spend, then the money would go out so that it could come back in, right? And the more I trusted that like when I let money go, it was going to come back, then like now it's just kind of this thing where it's like, okay, the door's open, money, whenever you want to come hang out, like feel free to hang out. And like, oh, you're going to be gone for a long time. Okay, I'm prepared for you to, like when I transitioned from one career to another, but like I had planned a year out before I was going to change careers. And so like in that time I started to save money because I didn't know if I was going to find a job right away. I didn't know if I wanted to work right away. Which is, of course I wanted to work, but just kind of looking at the energetics and the relationships that we have with money can be really powerful. I want to go back to the retirement savings piece that I was talking about because in addition to like a lot of businesses not having pensions, like in addition to like the documentary that I talked about with the police departments, choosing, one specific police department, I can't remember, I want to say it was in Pennsylvania, but I could be wrong because I watched it quite a while ago. They didn't choose someone that was a certified financial advisor, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't pick a fiduciary. They didn't even know to pick a fiduciary, but this person essentially took all of the pension savings and they invested it poorly, and this police department pension lost all their money. So these people that were told, if you serve for 20 years, 30 years, however long in this police force, you'll get a check for the rest of your life or until a certain time, whatever the agreement is. And so when it came time for some of them to retire, there was no money. So that's really bad, right? Because as people, like we're working so that we have something that we can live off of, best case situation or worst case situation, that can like supplement our income so we don't have to work as hard for as long. And so that's really the point of retirement savings, so that you can either save up enough that you can get to a point where you have invested enough money that you don't have to work at all if you don't want to, or so that you can supplement, whatever income you're getting if you, kind of scale down how much you're working. And the other part of it is that not everybody works in a field where their employer offers a 401k or a retirement, a pension. And so even the military, they changed how they do their retirement system. It's essentially it's pretty much a 401k, where you as an employee invest money and then the employer matches a certain amount of money. And not every job has that, right? So the other option is an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. There's no minimum to open an account. There's no minimum deposit that you put in. And IRAs have been around for a while. Like I said, I'm a saver. And so I opened my first IRA when I was like 25 or 26. And this was back in 2005. Because I watched an episode of Good Morning America and they were talking about, this was when the conversation first started to come up around there won't be Social Security available for people retiring in like 10 years. And so I think even now, if you're like a Gen Z or a millennial, or even older, like Gen X, you are not expecting to get anything for Social Security. If you know anybody that collects Social Security now, you'll know that it's a very, very small amount of money that like you can't live off of Social Security. I want to say when I Googled it, it was like $190 a month. Like what do you do with that? Right? Like you can't pay rent with that. You can't pay a mortgage. Depending on where you live and the time of year, maybe that's your electric bill. Definitely not a car payment, maybe insurance, but like that's nothing, right? Like you can't live on that. And it's only once a month. So I think that is the importance of like looking at an individual retirement account. So again, like those tips are like the high yield savings account, the money market account, retirement savings account. If you decide that you want to work with someone that's a financial advisor for your retirement savings, a lot of banks and credit unions offer an IRA, but it's not necessarily managed. Depending on the bank or credit union that you're with, they may have a financial advisor that you can work with. I know my credit union does. I don't know that banks do that because I just haven't, I haven't worked with like a bank as far as like an in-person branch, except for one time. And it was not a great experience. And I ended up taking my money out because somebody was able to hack into my account and start a transfer and I wasn't notified. And this was in like 2015. So like I didn't get a text, I didn't get a message. I like logged into my account because I went to buy gas and I couldn't get, like it got declined. And I was like, what is this? And I looked online and it was like pending transfer. And I was like, what? Because like I'm not going to transfer all my money out because I need my money. And so I had to go to the branch and talk to them. And once it all got cleared up, I took all my money out. And it was like the transfer was a couple $1,000s. Like this wasn't like a $50 like weird thing. I took all my money out of there, drove to the credit union that I've had an account at. I think my dad opened it like when I was born. I drove there and put my money in. And that's who I've been doing my banking with ever since. There are pros and cons to banks versus credit unions. You can Google that. There's a ton of information out there. A really good source of information that I love is NerdWallet. They always do like, I feel like they do it twice a year. They'll do, or anytime the market changes a lot, they'll do a like best high yield savings accounts or like best money markets, with zero down payment or zero minimum payment to open. Or, if you're looking for like who to invest your money with. So, like I have my retirement savings with Fidelity, because you can open an account with them and they'll offer you financial advisement for free because you have an account, because you're an account holder. Once you get to a certain amount of money, then they have different options where like you can pay to have someone manage your account. And after doing some research, like they at the time that I had them start managing my account, they have the lowest fee. So like typically with investment firms or like companies that do financial investment, they charge you a fee because someone, like when your account is managed, like someone is looking at your account on a specific basis. And so that costs money because that's somebody's job, right? And so those fees can fluctuate. More things to Google. But I just wanted to offer this because the financial state of things are unstable. So savings is really important. I feel like we have been knowing that the government is not going to take care of us. So, like, if you want to retire one day, or if you plan to live to at least 70, you want to look at a retirement savings account. It's never too late to open one, it's never too late to start. Also, like the high yield savings account and the money market, the interest rates, like, I am a huge fan of learning how to make the system work for you. And these two things, the high yield savings account and the money market account, are like the best ways to take advantage of the current state of the economy, which in a lot of ways is not great for the average person. But here, like, even if you can just put $10 in for 10 months and have that $100 in there and leave it, like, as long as things are in the state that they're in, which between you and I say this like intuitively and astrologically, I don't think we're going to see any big shifts until 2025. That's just my guess, my intuitive guess. But even if the interest rates just stay like this for a couple months, that's a couple months that you can take advantage of being able to have your money make some pretty decent money for you, when like just putting it in savings isn't really going to get you anything. So we all love getting something from nothing. So yeah, so those are the tangible tips and the intro, and I apologize this is so long, but yeah, if you are interested in getting the information from my money coach, feel free to leave a comment. I'm happy to share that. So now we will get into the reading. Thank you so much for sitting through this. If you did, I hope it was of great value to you. So I will see you in the reading. This week, I will be offering you 5 different readings on financial abundance. So I pulled the King of Pentacles from each of the decks that I'll be using for this reading. So you can take a look at the artwork, see what resonates for you. The King of Pentacles is the king of money. So the King of Pentacles is very secure, grounded, stable energy. The pentacles in the tarot represents like earth energy, like that grounding. That I feel like King of Pentacles is like a mountain, that like he's very secure in who he is. He knows what he knows, not in a hurry, just very secure, credible, knowledgeable. I feel like kind of how we all want to be with money, right? Just abundant and secure, and not lacking, not worried. So yeah, that's why I picked that card. So in each of the readings, I have pulled 2 cards from each deck to discuss some questions. So the first question is, how are you already abundant? I feel like when we're able to see how we're abundant, like we're able to hold gratitude for the things that we have. And I feel like that puts us in alignment to receive a lot more of the positive things that we want. I think when we're in a lack mindset, when we're really focused on what we don't have, it kind of puts us in a negative headspace. When you're always aware of how things aren't going well, it's really hard to be positive and like be appreciative of when things go positive. So being aware of where you're already abundant, and being able to hold gratitude for that. I think because sometimes we don't realize that the things that we have in abundance aren't available to everyone. So it's kind of a nice reflection. The next question is going to be, how can you draw in more financial abundance? And then the third question is, how can you get clear on what you want more, or why you want more abundance? I think that like when we're not sure why we want things, it's easy to get them and lose them very quickly, like especially with money. Like if you're not intentional on what you want more money for, then when it comes, it's like it's burning a hole in your pocket and you just blow it on things. But I mean, if that's the experience that you're looking for, if you want to have money just to be able to freely spend it, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that all of us would agree that like we know the things that we want to spend money on, and we know the things that we don't want to spend money on, right? So that's kind of the reason behind that question. So without further ado, let me show you these cards. So group number 1 is going to be with the Santa Muerte deck, and this is the King of Pentacles for that deck. Group number 2 is the Deviant Moon Tarot, and this is the King of Pentacles for that deck. Next is the Modern Witch Tarot. Then I have the Desert Illuminations Tarot. And it's the King of Cactus, which is Aliens, which I think is really fun. And then last is the Light Seers deck. And this is the King of Pentacles. So as always, take all the time you need to choose. You are welcome to watch more than one reading. Or you can just randomly pick one, whatever calls to you. But yeah, these are the options. So I will see you in the readings. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose the Santa Muerte deck, this is your reading. So I have pulled 6 cards from this tarot deck for you, as well as 5 oracle cards. So I pulled cards to answer a couple questions. So the first question that I have is, how are you already financially abundant? So if you watch the intro, how are you already abundant? Just abundance in general. If you watch the intro, I kind of talked through why I feel like it's important for us to be aware of how we're already abundant in our lives, because gratitude is something that I feel like gratitude is powerful, because when we become grateful for what we already have, that allows us to kind of focus our attention on that. And so it's like, if we see ways that we already have abundance around us, then we can be grateful for that abundance, and then we can have our attention set on being grateful for more ways that the abundance comes in. So it's almost like if I told you that a special sign for you to look out for this week is the number 555, and that anytime you see 555, something important is going to happen, then what you'll do is you'll set your attention on looking for those numbers, because you know that something special is going to happen after that, and we all want something special to happen. I feel like energetically it's the same thing when we are grateful for what abundance we already have around us. That we, when we start to see it, then we can focus our attention on it, and we realize that there's more of it. And so I feel like vibrationally, energetically, when we align our attention, our focus on the things that we want more of, then that is our way of letting the universe know, letting God, Source, Spirit know, I like that. Please give me more of that. And I feel like it's the same when we have things that happen that are not really aligned for us. They're not really what we want, right? Like I recently had this happen with an interaction with someone new, and just this person's behaviors, like some of the words that they used, I didn't like that. And it was objectifying, but not in the way that we think of objectifying. The phrase that he used twice in one conversation about me was that he said, I saw you, and I was like, I have to get that one. And I thought that was very strange language, because I'm not a Pokemon. like I'm a human being, like I'm a person, and I'm not keen on someone that's interested in possessing me. And I'm not saying that this person was possessive, but I think because he said it twice in the same conversation, like that really was kind of this internal red flag for me, that like, you're not interested in getting to know me. You're interested in kind of collecting me, maybe that, because I feel like human beings collect other human beings sometimes, that there are people that, like they want to, I don't know, date all the Asian boys, or they want to date all the tattooed girls, or like they just, the same way that we collect things, right? That we collect, like, I don't know, like Funko Pops, or we collect crystal bracelets, or we collect anything. Those are, this is an object, right? Like, this is something that I purchased with money. A human being is not. So, it was a long tangent that has nothing to do with you or money, so I apologize. But I feel like when we put our attention on the things that we are grateful for, that is our way of energetically, vibrationally telling the universe that, like, this makes me feel good. This brings me joy. I would love more of this. Please send more of this my way. So, how are you already abundant? So the 2 cards that came up were the Knight of Swords and the 9s and the 6s look the same on here, but this is 9 of Cups. So, and I will show you these 2 cards. So this is the Knight of Swords, and this is the 9 of Cups. So I feel like, especially the 9 of Cups, like, because we have all these cups in this chest here and it's open, right? I feel like you have a lot of love around you, that you have a lot of people that love you. You have a lot of really positive experiences with people, with, like, things like, I feel like you generally, like, with new things, like, things are generally pleasant for you. And I think that's awesome. Like, that's so beautiful that, I'm feeling like it's easy for you to make friends. Relationships are easy for you. Like, new love is easy for you. But I think that is a reflection of you, that you're a very loving person, right? That, you've got this little heart here, and it's almost like this is your heart, that, like, within you, you have all these cups that, like, you're able to give. You're able to give these cups to people that you care about, people that you interact with. You might be really generous just with your time, energy, money. And because you're so giving, that comes back to you, which I feel like is really beautiful, because a lot of times people will give so that they can get something back. But I don't feel like that's what you do. I think this Knight of Swords is interesting because we've got, the swords represent words and thoughts. Like written, verbal, as far as, like, well, both. I mean, because we can verbalize and we can write down our thoughts, just like we can verbalize and write down the way we communicate. The interesting thing, I think, is that we've got this knight and he's putting this sword in his own mouth. And so it almost feels like you're very, you're very, very abundant when it comes to actionable love and care for other people, and people, like, take action to care for and love you. But for some reason, when it comes to words, like how he's, like, he doesn't look like he's choking on this sword, but, like, if you put a sword in your mouth, you would choke on it. And so it almost feels like there's either some discomfort around, like, speaking up for what you want or need, or maybe you've had experiences where, like, you spoke up about something and you kind of, like, not necessarily choked on your words, but it's hard to get them out. Like, it's hard to explain maybe, like, what it is that you want, or, like, what it is that you're looking for, or what it is that you need. And so with, like, all this, like, love and positivity around you, I think that this is, I don't want to say that there's an abundance of blocks, because that's not true. I feel like there might be, like, one significant block that's happening for you that, like, this abundance of, like, love and positivity can help you overcome, right? Because a lot of people don't have this level of, like, love and support around them. And so you have this resource that, like, when there's times that you struggle to communicate what it is that you want or what you need or what you're looking for, you have all these cups that you can go to, all these people that you can go to ask, like, how do can you help me figure out a way to explain this to somebody? Or can you help me figure out a way to, like, figure out XYZ? Like, it's almost like the tangible things, maybe not tangible, like the real world adulting things, like the things that involve like rules and processes and like navigating stuff, even to go back to like what this reading is about, which is money, like going to open an account for yourself, like it's hard for you to figure out how to explain that, and so I feel like if you sit down and have a conversation with those people that you love, like the ones that are really good with money, or the ones that like are really good with like whatever it is that you're looking to do, right? It feels a little bit of it feels like education, like going back to school and like going to talk to that cousin that you have that is always like working on learning something, whether it's a degree or like learning something else, and talking to them and saying like, hey, I want to do this, but like I don't really understand how this works. Like, I want to open a retirement account, but like who do I go to? Or like when I can I do it online? I don't really understand how the online thing works. So like can I make an appointment to talk to somebody? Like, does it work like that? Or even like, can you go with me? Right? Where I feel like when you're by yourself, it feels like it's really hard to like talk about the things that you're needing to do or the things that you want to ask for, but you have all this support around you. And I want to say something else about difficulty doing something alone. I think that in our society, like there's so much value put on like you have to be the lone wolf and you got to figure it out yourself and like all this stuff. And I feel like it's really bullshit. I feel like the messaging that we're getting, that there's no help for you, that you have to do everything by yourself, is really something that like the system, which is really a system of oppression. And you can put that label on like any of our systems, like our system of work, government, politics, healthcare, like all these things. They're set up not to benefit people. They're set up to oppress people. And that's just my opinion. Plus my 43 years of experience on this planet. And so when we're told you have to figure it out by yourself, and we get to this point where we can't, then what that does is it creates this like really shitty messaging that like, I'm not good at being an adult, or like, I don't know how to do this, or I can't do it and everybody else can. And that's a lie, because I will tell you as a full grown up, I think I'm a full grown up. Nobody knows what they're doing. Like, I mean, there are people that know quite a bit about what they're doing and they have a good grasp on things, but like nobody knows everything. Like nobody is a master of everything. Also, things change so much, like tax law and finance law. There's so many things that change every year that it's not possible for everybody to know how everything works. And then third, people have jobs, like people have careers in finance so that they can specialize in knowing that. So if you are like, if you feel like you don't know how to open a savings account or a money market account or a retirement account by yourself, you don't have to, because there are people that are financial advisors that is their whole job. And there's nothing wrong with asking for somebody to go with you. There's nothing wrong with asking for somebody to come over to your house and like sit down with you when you open this high yield savings account online, because I feel like it's the same concept as like when you buy a car. And so like a lot of advice around buying cars, which I feel like they don't really tell people this stuff anymore. And I don't really remember how I learned it. I don't remember if it was like something on TV, or maybe something on the internet. I don't know. But a lot of advice that I've gotten about buying a car is don't go by yourself, because I feel like things are changing kind of. But like a lot of times, like in the past, and it might still be this way now, sales and advertising was like really manipulative. And so it like these salespeople would talk really fast and they wouldn't give you space to ask questions, or they would just kind of push you to get you into a car because they want to make their commission, right? So if I can just figure out how to pressure you, which I'm going to call convincing you to buy this car, the faster I can do it, the faster I get my money and the better off I am. And so sometimes like it's hard to take in all of that information. And as human beings, I think we are very much socialized to give in to like peer pressure. And so those tactics make it really hard when you're by yourself, right? Because it's like, okay, did I hear everything? And like, I don't even know what questions I have. And like, I don't even know if I like this car. And like, can I just look by myself? And I feel like that's why you see things like, I want to say, is it Carvana? There's a car service where you can buy the car online and they deliver it to you. You don't deal with a salesperson. Like, you get to take all the time you want to look on the internet for these things and to figure out if it makes sense to you, you know, and if you're someone that's like super internet savvy, that's great. And if you're not, like, it helps to have a friend, right? Because sometimes like our friends can be, and especially our family, can be like our biggest advocates, right? Where it's like, especially if you have someone that's gone through the process already. So like for my personal experience, when I opened my IRA, I went through Fidelity Investments. I went with them because my dad told me about them. And my dad is really, really, really good with money. So of course I'm going to trust like what he has to say, because like I would like to be as good with money as he is. So let me hear what you have to say, you know. But also he was like, look around and see if there's a branch there, because you can open your account online, but like if you like when you open the account, there's different ways that you can invest your money. There's different options for how to invest. And like, if you don't know how you want your money invested, then it might be beneficial to go see someone in person so they can explain it to you. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, and like when I still lived in the same state as him, like he had offered to go with me. And, you know, I'm a little bit hyper independent. So I was like, no, I want to go by myself. I want to go by myself, you know, but he referred me to the lady that was his financial advisor. So it was like, oh, okay, now I can go to someone that is trusted by someone that I trust, you know? So like, we don't live in a bubble. Like, we don't live in a silo. Like, you don't have to do these things by yourself. And if you feel like there's a lot of pressure, because if we think about like, even if we think about in the circus, like sword swallowers, like there's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure of having a knife in your throat, but also there's a lot of pressure of not injuring yourself. So I feel like there's pressure with this card, right? That it puts a lot of pressure on ourselves to have to do things by ourselves when we're not really confident doing it. And so I feel like society would tell us like, oh, if you're not confident, you got to work on your confidence. And to that I say, fuck you, on your behalf. Maybe you agree. I don't know. But if you feel a lot of pressure around doing something, like, and you have all this support and like all this love, like ask these people for assistance. Like, you know, I feel like this, whatever this relationship is that you have with all these people, kind of this energetic thing, that people just really love you and they just want to help you. Like, you're one of those people that I would call like blessed and lucky. I feel like my brother's one of these people that like, people are just like exceptionally nice to him. And like, people aren't exceptionally mean to me, but like people don't really interact with me. Like, strangers don't talk to me. But like, my brother's one of those people that like, people just talk to him, like they just like him, and he has like a really open, friendly, like sweet energy. And like, I kind of feel like you have that same energy where people are like, I just want to be nice to you because you're nice, you know? And so why wouldn't you ask these people like, hey, I want to do this thing and I'm not really sure, and would you mind helping me, or do you know somebody that knows this? And I feel like it's going to be this overwhelming, like, absolutely, like, not a problem. So the abundance that you have around you is all of this like love and support, like all this love and support that is happy to help you to do the things, like make whatever changes that you want to make that you feel like are hard to do by yourself. And so I feel like that's lovely. We love that. So the next question I have is, how can you draw in more financial abundance? So we have two cards, which are very interesting. So the first one is the Queen of Wands. And so Queen of Wands is like, we can see her like she's doing she's going somewhere. She is in motion, right? She got her wand, she's got her light, she's going somewhere. So I feel like now is a good time for you to take action. So whatever this thing is that you want to do that you're not sure about, this is a time to take action on that. And then the other card that came up is the Lovers in reverse. And so this is what the Lovers upright looks like. So we've got two people and they're working together to figure out how to get this key in this heart to unlock it. And typically like lovers is about two people relationship, right? When it's in the reverse, I feel like this is something that's more internal for you, right? That like you're being encouraged to like take action to figure out like what, because this key is important. Like what is important to you in regards to like your finances, right? Like you're going somewhere, but where are you going? Like what are you moving towards? What do you want to take action on? And so in the intro, I talked about like, you know, that savings is important, but that we can save for different things, right? So you might want to move towards saving to take a vacation, right? That like you live someplace that's really hot and the weather is probably just going to get hotter and you would love to take a vacation to someplace that's not hot next summer and just kind of enjoy that experience. And it's like, okay, so when we figure out like that saving for a vacation is what is important to me, now we've got this key to kind of unlock this door for her to start taking action on that, like moving into that. I hope that makes sense. I mean, granted, this question is about how to draw in more financial abundance, but sometimes like those things, like that internal work isn't always about like just setting up that savings account, right? Like this key can have, like this key is for a heart, right? And so even in the traditional lovers where we've got like a male and female figure, like this can be us, that we have two, you know, like the two different energies. Like if you look at like the yin and yang energy, like the flow and then the force, right? Like the flow, the surrender, and then the action. And so you're ready to take action on something, but you have to figure out what it is that's of value to your heart, you know? And so I feel like for some of you, excuse me, for some of you, like this action that you're ready to take, it could be around fitness, right? And it could have nothing to do with like the way your body looks or the way your body feels or like losing weight or gaining weight. It could have to do with like, I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to start this habit because I'm worth investing in myself, that I'm worth like setting aside a specific amount of time to just focus on what I want to do. And when we look at finances, like the energy of money is very much tied into value, right? That like money is how we put a value on things, but that like our relationship to money is very similar to the relationship with like how we value ourselves, right? So like if I don't value myself, I'm probably not going to spend money on myself. I'm probably not going to invest in myself by saving money. And so I feel like for some of you, this tangible action is going to be like doing something for money, like saving money, or even splurging, right? Even just like buying yourself something really nice to kind of energetically, vibrationally get into that space of like, I deserve good things, that like I'm worth spending money on myself to bring myself joy, to enjoy this experience of having a really fancy dinner, or to enjoy this experience of like having a really nice massage, or to enjoy this experience of just spoiling myself because I worked really hard in these other areas of my life and like I deserve a nice little treat. So I feel like for some of you, drawing in that financial abundance is going to just be like putting the key in the lock to get the money out of the piggy bank, out of the bank account, and going to like purchase something for yourself, you know. And it doesn't have to be something expensive, right? It doesn't have to be like, I think I talked about in the intro, like $200 sneakers. Like it could just be going to like that little bakery that sells like $8 cupcakes that are so good and spending that $8 on a cupcake for yourself. So, you know, this Lover's card is about doing that internal reflection, like that internal, reflection, like seeing both of these sides of ourselves, like seeing our whole self and like loving and accepting that self, you know, and really valuing ourselves. Yeah. So I feel like the way for you to draw in more financial abundance for some of you is to take that little bit of savings and like, or take that money and like spoil yourself with something. Others of you, it's going to be really diving deep, you know, like going inside, going within yourself. And this can even be like having a conversation with like a friend or a family member about like, how do I figure out what is really valuable to me around my money, right? Like, maybe I'm feeling like a lot of pressure to pay off some debt, that I don't like having this debt hanging over me, and like I don't really have a plan, and I've been making the minimum payments. So like, okay, how do I do a budget? Like, how do I figure out how to get this weight off of me so that I can just be done with this credit card debt, or open this account or whatever. But it's, the way to draw in more financial abundance is to take action on the thing that really makes you feel valuable to you. The third question I have is, how can we get clear on why you want more abundance? Okay. So the first card that came up is the Page of Wands. So pages are messengers. Again, this wand card, just like that queen, it's about taking action. So there's a message. Interesting. The next card that came up is the Six of Cups, and it was reversed, but this is the upright. So Six of Cups is about reciprocity. In the reverse, what it feels like to me is you're getting a message that the reciprocity is out of balance. So I talked about earlier that, that you give a lot, like you're a very loving person, you have a very loving heart, like you give a lot, and that people want to give back to you. And so the reciprocity being out of balance is not that you're not getting back as much as you give. It's that the things that people are giving to you are not exactly what you would like. And so like you're being invited to speak up, right? To speak up and to share that, like, when I give my time for this, like, I don't need you to give me time back. Like, it would be really nice if you wrote me a thank you note. Or I feel like I'm having a hard time, like, giving examples to this, because sometimes, like, when we give something, people have a tendency to either give back exactly what we gave, and sometimes that works. Like, typically we give what we would like to receive, so that matches, or they'll give us something that they would have liked to receive that's not something that we would like. So I feel like a good example of this is like birthday gifts. I think everybody has like someone in their life that like when they get a birthday gift or like any kind of like holiday gift or maybe a just because gift, when they get a gift from this certain type of person, it's something that that person would like. It's not something that we would like. And then others of us have people in our lives that like when they give us a gift, it's because like you can tell that they picked it out for you. And so I think what this Six of Cups in reverse is sharing is that like, you know, you have all these people around you that are giving things to you, but they're giving things that they would like to receive. And they're not really things that you would like to receive, right? And so it's hard to share that we would like to receive something else because going back to that gratitude, right? Like we don't want to be ungrateful and we don't want to say no thank you to what we received. But in the same token, right? There's pressure to express ourselves. And in the same token, like this Nine of Cups says that you have like abundance all around you, right? So these people just like they want to give. They want to give. And so this Six of Cups reversed with the messenger, the message is that like you just have to share with them, you know, that like I really appreciate that gift that you gave me. And it was a really lovely sweater, but if you would like to get me something next time, I really love books and I'd really love a gift card to Barnes and Noble. Like that would make me so happy. Because you're not saying that you don't like the sweater, you do, but there's something else that you would like instead. Right. And so a lot of times I think that when we have people around us that just are overflowing with love for us, like they want us to be happy. You have all these people around you that want you to be happy. They want this to be upright. Like they want to, you know, they want to give you just as many cups as they received. Right. And so if they know, you know, that there's something particular that you would like, that would make them really happy. So I feel like the way that you can get clear on why you want more abundance is really around like learning how to express what you need, right? So working with people to express what you need so that when they offer you things, you know, that you can express like that this is what I would love, right? Because I think when we do a favor for someone, you know, they might be like, oh, what can I get you in return? Or like, I would love to give you a thank you gift. What can I give you? And so I think in the past, you know, you've been like kind of choking on those words. Oh, whatever you would like to offer me. Oh, whatever. Like, it's not a big deal. Or maybe even like, you're like, oh, I don't need anything. Which, you know, a thank you gift is not like to satisfy a need. A thank you gift is to say thank you. But in the past, you might have been like, oh, no, it's okay. You don't have to get me anything, or like whatever you would like, you know, because they want to give. And so maybe what you can practice doing is to share something that you would like, right? That if somebody was like, oh my gosh, like you really help me, like, man, I was in a pinch and you really helped and I would just love to get you something, like just something small. You can say, oh, I'd love a gift card from Starbucks. I'm like, okay, here's a $10 gift card. And I'm like, thank you so much. And then you go get your little favorite coffee. And it's a win-win, right? Because you spoke up, you listened to the message, took action on the message to speak up and ask for what you would like in return for, I have too many cards, for all this like love and abundance that you offer. Sorry, I'm just looking back at the questions because I have them written out because I don't remember stuff. And so I feel like this isn't, the question is like, how can you get clear on why you want more abundance? And I feel like the question isn't why you want more abundance. Like the reading is saying like, you need to practice communicating more clearly when abundance is offered to you. And that's how, not necessarily for you to get clear, but it's like, that's how you'll be able to figure out with this, you know, this key in the lock, that's how you'll be able to figure out what is of value to you, right? That like when you're when you have that reciprocal relationship of abundance, that you're offering things to people and they want to repay you, and you communicate to them, you communicate to them that like, oh, I would love a Target gift card. Like that would be great because that's my favorite store. Then what you're saying is, I understand what my value is, and I understand that I deserve these things. And like that acceptance of your own worth is going to unlock like this financial abundance for you. Because like I said, like if we don't feel like we deserve things, it's very hard for us to receive them. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of that because of the reversal, that like, oh no, thank you, I don't need that. Because when we haven't learned how to receive in the human realm, right, in like the day-to-day interactions, it's really hard for us to shift our energy and our frequency into the space of like, okay, universe, you can send me a promotion because I'm ready to receive it, right? If we're not in that, and I kind of think of like energy and frequency as like a room, right? Like if we're not prepared to go into the room where the good things flow, then we can't receive them, right? If we've decided like, oh, that's the abundance room, I'm not good enough to go in there. And it's like, okay, you're not. And then you're not going to receive anything because that's where you receive things. And so I feel like when we look at energy and frequency and vibration from that space, where it's like, if you decide that you're not good enough, then you've decided you're not allowed to go into that abundance room because you're not good enough to receive what's in that room, right? Which is like, and there's like people that are totally opposite, right? There are people that are like, I deserve to go in all the rooms. I'm going to go in there and see what's in there. And then they come back and they're like, I got all this stuff. And you're like, well, how? And they're like, you just go in there and they give you stuff and you just take it and then you can leave. And you're like, I don't think I'm allowed. And it's like, okay, as long as you think you're not allowed, or you think you're not good enough, or you think that you don't deserve it, then you're right. Because those thoughts, those beliefs dictate whether you walk into that room or not. So I hope that makes sense. That you, once you are able to verbalize these are just small things. Once you're able to verbalize that in response to all the love and abundance that you offer other people, when you're able to verbalize like, oh, I would really like this small thing in return for my generosity to you, I would love to receive your generosity in the form of some flowers. I don't know. Once you're able to start doing that, then what happens is you flip this right side up and you've identified this key, right? You've identified, or you've accepted like your worthiness, that like, okay, I do deserve these good things and I am allowed to ask for things and I will receive the things that I ask for because like these people really do love and care about me. And then you can put that into this lock and then that opens all the money, even though it doesn't exactly work like that. But you know what I'm saying? Energetically. Energetically. So group number 1, that was the tarot portion of the reading. So I've got these 5 oracle cards that I want to pull for you, or that I want to share with you. So the first one is the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And this card is, I think it's Jupiter in Cancer. And so it's speculation. And so I'm going to show it to you. Sorry, I was looking at it. It's very interesting. So we've got these 2 people, which is very similar to this Lover's card, right? Got these 2 people kind of looking. I mean, this keyhole is like an eye. I feel like this is very interesting mirroring. This speculation, right? Like and he's kind of checking this out. They're both kind of looking in at each other. There's something that like you're being nudged to kind of consider. Cancer symbolizes like the internal world, like the private world. And it, like I said, with this card coming up in the reverse, like this is very internal, right? So this is just kind of confirming that, you know, like there's some internal consideration that you need to do, some internal speculation, some internal looking at figuring out like what is of value to you and like what's blocking you accepting that like you're valuable and that you deserve to ask for the things that you would like. The next card is from the Absolute Affirmations deck, and it is I embrace my healing abilities. So this is the card, and the message on the back is you are a divine being, and you already possess all the tools necessary to heal your body and your mind innately. Others can assist you with this process, but ultimately the power is in your hands. Take the time to identify any emotional wounds and honor your healing process. Start from within. Which is very, very much again this. Okay, and then we've got a card from the Super Attractor deck, and the message is, the universe has big plans for me, and it's time to claim them. Yes. And I really like the eyeballs. And it's only one eye, right? So it's like third eye, like introspection. Next is the Daily Crystal. Yes, Daily Crystal Inspiration. And this card is Lapis Lazuli. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But the message is make a decision. Again, this introspection, and then that Queen of Wands. Like she's ready to take action. So once you make that decision, that you are worthy, you know, that you're worthy of all the things that you would like, then it's go time. Just got a little hand on it like, hey, let's go. Let's get it. Let's go. Ooh. I lost my voice there. And the last card is from the Spellcasting Oracle. Oh, and the message is courage. So having the courage to reach out to those people that support you and just asking for help. Having the courage to ask for what you would really like. You know, like sometimes like using our voice, sometimes like expressing ourselves, like asking for things, even if it's small, like that takes a lot of courage. Especially for people that were kind of brought up to be people pleasers, to like not ask for things and not need things from anybody. It's uncomfortable to kind of speak up, you know? So you're being encouraged, right? You're giving an example of like, hey, I can do this. Yeah. So group number 1, that was your reading. I hope that you found it very helpful. And if you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. And thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 2. So if you chose the Deviant Moon Tarot, this is your reading. So I have pulled 6 tarot cards for you for 3 different questions. So the first one is, how are you already abundant? So the first card that came up is this 5 of Pentacles. But this is 4 of Pentacles. Roman numerals are hard. This is 4 of Pentacles, but it came up in the reverse. So the traditional 4 of Pentacles looks very similar to this, except for there's not a naked monster lady. It's got a king who's clutching really tightly to his 4 pentacles. And so, you know, with the traditional tarot, or in the upright position, the card just symbolizes someone being kind of fearful of losing everything. And we can see, like, looking at his face, you know, he doesn't trust anybody. Like, he might not even be aware that this person is behind him. Like, maybe they're sneaking in, trying to take his money, but, you know, looking around, really fearful. So in the reverse, I feel like that message is that, like, you're not worried about, like, the money falling away, right? That, like, with it in the reverse, like, we can't fight gravity, right? That, like, if it's going to fall away, it's going to fall away. And so I think that, like, you're, like, you already have this healthy perspective on money, that like there's a flow to it, right? That like if it leaves, it's going to come back. Like you don't have to cling so tightly to it that it never leaves, that you never spend it, that you never enjoy it, that you understand that like it goes out and then it comes in. It's almost like the tides, like the waves of the ocean, like the ebb and flow of the ocean, that the water goes out and then it comes in, right? That there's this balance, like in and out and in. So you already have a pretty healthy relationship with the energetics of money. And then the other card that came up was the Roman numerals are really hard, because when I looked at this, I saw 6 cups, but there's actually 7. So the 7 of cups, this is another way that you're really abundant, that 7 of cups can be about like being overwhelmed by decisions, that like each cup is something different to decide. But I don't feel that energy for you. I think that like you're aware that like there's the other meaning of 7 of cups is that there's no bad choices, that there's all these cups here, and that like any one of them would be a fine choice, right? So like sorry, I was trying to see if he's drawing the same person that's in the other card, but he's not. When we've got these 7 cups here, if you're looking for a cup to get something to drink, like any of these cups is fine. Like they're all the same size, they're all empty, like they all hold the same amount of liquid. So I feel like the 7 of cups, that, because it can have multiple meanings, I feel like for you, the ways that you're abundant are that, that you understand that like more choices is a positive thing. Some people, more choices is overwhelming. For you, it's not. That there's an abundance of options around you, that things are very open. And I would venture to say that you're an optimist, because it feels very, this is going to sound weird, it feels very Sagittarian to me. And I feel like Sagittarius people are generally pretty optimistic, at least in one area of their life, that like they might have like a really positive outlook about work, right? That like that they're not stuck in a job, that like they have the freedom to apply for another job and to move on. They have the flexibility to go into a different career. Like they're not stuck or trapped. The other way that you're abundant is that like you're comfortable with the way that money flows, that like when money leaves, there's no reason to panic because it's not going to be gone forever. That like when you pay your rent, you haven't lost money. Like it's an exchange, right? That you pay out this money for rent so that you have a really nice place to live. And that like you go to work and then the money comes back in because you get a paycheck, and then you pay it out so that you have a really nice place to live. And then you go to work and get more money. So it's like there's a flow to it, which I feel like is really beautiful and positive. The next question is, how can you draw in more financial abundance? And so the 2 cards that came up, this is very interesting, is this one is the 6 of Cups. We've got the 6 up here. And 6 of Cups is about generosity. So the more that, generosity and reciprocity, that the more that you share with others, like the more you receive back. And also like 6 of Cups has to do with kind of nostalgia, like it can have to do with like childhood. And so we've got like, these are little puppets. We've got these kids like watching this little puppet show that's happening. And so I feel like there's some kind of financial tie to your childhood. And it might be something that you learned from childhood. Like it might be some kind of like money thing that you learned from childhood. You might even be considering like having a conversation with your family about money, just to kind of learn some things. Because I feel like depending on like what age you are, we kind of get to this point in our lives where we start to consider different things with money, right? That like, I think for me, like at 43, like investing became more important because I can collect my retirement, right, from my IRA when I hit 65. But it's like, okay, I'm at the age now where that's like a little more than 20 years away. Like me in 20 years from now, like does the 20-year from now me want to keep working like I do now? What does the me in 20 years want to do? Like, what do I want my life to look like at that point, right? And so, my parents have been retired for a couple of years and kind of seeing that, like, my parents are divorced. So kind of seeing how my dad lives versus how my mom lives, and kind of seeing like, okay, there's, because I'm a product of both of them, biologically, genetically, but also like personality wise, that there are some things that like the way that my mom lives where I'm like, I mean, that seems okay, but I'm not interested in that. And then like, on my dad's side, there's certain things where it's like, that's a little too restrictive, but like, oh, that seems really fun. Right. So because I like the energy I'm feeling is kind of like this uncertainty around like, what do I need money for, right? Like how, like, and not like, I don't mean that in like a flippant way, like, oh, what do I even need money for? No. I mean it like, how do I know what I'll need money for when I'm an age I haven't gotten to yet, when I'm like at a place in my life I haven't gotten to yet. And I think that's why there's kind of like this energy of like going back to like family, and it doesn't necessarily have to be parents. Like it could be your grandparents, it could be aunts and uncles, it could be anybody that's like a little bit older than you. And it doesn't have to be like blood family. It could be people that you trust, to talk about money with, because money it's kind of a charged topic, right? Like it's tricky. It's confusing, and like we're not taught about money, and like what if I make a bad decision with my money, and like how do I make the best decision, and like who do I talk to, and like how does this work, and so it kind of feels like a little bit of that energy. Like you don't have I don't feel any anxiety with you. Like I feel like you're more like practical. So those questions that come up, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe I want to retire at like 70, but like how much money will I need? How do I figure that out? And so having those conversations, like going back to, those family members or those people that that are coming into those phases or that are already in those phases, I think can be really helpful. Because, reciprocity, isn't always in the moment, right? It's not always like, oh, I do this for you and you do this for me. Reciprocity, I feel like can even be like, even like the intro that I did where it's like, I was able to save $10,000 in a high yield savings account because I took advantage of like the fact that those interest rates fluctuate, but also because of the way those accounts are set up where it's hard to transfer the money out. And so it's like whatever I put in there, like it was going to be in there for a while. So I knew when I put it in there, because when you transfer it, it takes a couple days. But, when I put it in there, it was just going to be in there collecting interest. And another part of that reciprocity was that like I worked with a money coach who taught me how this works. And she taught me these little tips and tricks of, putting money in every month to save for a big purchase at the end of like a year, 12-month cycle, or even just, like the example I used in the intro was like every quarter I have a pest control person come out to my house because there's bugs everywhere in North Carolina. And so each month for 3 months, I put in like 20 something dollars, and that money gets a little bit of interest, which like doesn't seem like a big deal, but like my money's making money. if I left it in my checking account, I might probably spend it, but also like it's not going to make any money, you know? And so it's like, it seems like they're small things, right? But actually it's like all these little bits of money that get put in there are part of a bigger pot of money, and that bigger pot of money gains more interest, you know? And so it's like, okay, I'm taking it out to pay my pest control, but then I'm putting that money right back in because I got to save for the next quarter. Or like I have a home warranty program, home warranty, yeah, thing that I purchase in case there's like a major disaster in my house, right? Like if I don't know, if I have like some plumbing that explodes, then like the home warranty covers the majority of it. And it's really expensive, right? And I pay it once a year, but it's like every month I'm putting that money in there, and every month that money is gaining interest. And then I have a little bit more money left over when I take it out to pay for that warranty for the next year. So, I share all that because like the reciprocity of it is that like people will learn things and they want to share those things because the now them wishes that somebody in the past had shared that with them. So that's why I like encourage you to talk to people that you know and trust that can kind of share with you like those tangible things about like the questions that you have regarding your finances. So that was just the first card. The second card is the Knight of Wands. And so the Knight of Wands is about taking action, you know, so this knight is kind of riding on the back of this little, is this a locust? I don't know my bugs. This probably isn't even a real bug. It's like two bugs on top of each other. Okay, this deck's fun. It's just weird. But this Knight of Wands card is about taking action. Like knights are about action, and the Wands suit is about taking action. So like the way that you can draw in more financial abundance is, you know, to learn from these people that you know, that you trust, that know about finances, that can give you tangible advice from their own perspective, their own situation, and then for you to actually take action on that. And like I said, I feel like you're a really practical person. So like this isn't really advice. This is more confirmation that like once you talk to these people, you know, that you know and trust, who will give you information, then you're going to take action on it because that's just who you are. It's almost like I feel like you have to do the information gathering. And also like looking at this card, we've got, right, there's like this little play, and then we've got all these kind of participants down here that are just like kind of gawking and like watching, you know, like absentmindedly. And I feel like the thing that came to mind when I was looking at this is to scrutinize where you're getting your information from. So there's a lot of like information, financial information that is out there. And I mentioned in the intro that like I'm not a financial advisor, like I'm not a financial expert, like I'm sharing my experience with things. And so you might watch that and feel like, oh, that doesn't really resonate for you. And so I feel like this card is just serving as that reminder to kind of scrutinize what it is that you're seeing. Like, is this of value to you? Does this make sense to you? Like, you know, let's say that these people are explaining how to earn these cups. Like, do you just want to earn 6 cups? Are you looking to earn 10 cups? You know, so being aware, being intentional with who you take that information from and who you receive information from. And I know I have said this a couple times that you're a very practical person, but I feel like we all have intuition, right? We all have like that little nudge, you know, like in that little gut feeling. And so if you're getting information from someone that just doesn't make sense or it doesn't feel right, like you don't have to take it, right? Like reciprocity doesn't mean that like we have to receive everything that everyone gives us, you know, that like sometimes people offer things to us that like don't work, right? So like if you're at a potluck and you're lactose intolerant and somebody is like, here's some ice cream, then you're like, no, thank you, because that doesn't work for you. So I feel like just kind of looking back at this card, like that's something that I wanted to express. Especially for some reason, like with the media. So I don't know if you watch the news a lot or if like, yeah, because like these are puppets, right? Like these are kind of talking heads, and the majority of people just consume whatever they see. And so I don't feel like that's really your style, but I feel like this is also like a kind of just a heads up, like, hey, look out for those red flags, look out for the things that don't resonate for you, and the things that do resonate for you, the things that do make sense, take action on those things. Okay. And then the third question, how can you get more clear on why you want more financial abundance? So the first card that came up is, this one's really cute. It's the Two of Pentacles. And so, with this card, she's got two coins, which is the Pentacles suit represents like time, money, energy. She's got two, and she's kind of holding them up. But this card is very much about balance, that, we have to weigh things, that in the traditional tarot, the Two of Pentacles, there's an infinity symbol around the two. So it's kind of talking about this energy of always balancing things, balancing and rebalancing. And I feel like for this, I'm looking at the other one too. For this Two of Pentacles, like she's like just a very intense stare, like through their one eyeball. And it feels to me like you're like you're really being encouraged to like look at how you are or are not balancing things within your finances. That like that's very, very important. And I say that because the next card that came up is the Queen of Cups reversed. And so Queen of Cups upright looks like this. I've got this Queen energy, which is, the court cards, like the Queen and the King, like these are powerful energies. They're very grounded, like good decision makers. Like they're in positions of authority because they've earned the right to be in those positions. Like they've demonstrated their credibility. The Queen of Cups is like a very loving... very like loving, matronly energy, very giving, definitely not to a fault though, right? That like the Queen of Cups is not that mom that's going to run herself ragged to give everything to her kids. She's going to give, she's not going to give to the point that they're spoiled. She's not going to give to the point that she's exhausted. But with this in reverse, what this tells me is that you can be a little heavy-handed on the giving. That that you might be the person that's like, I'll pick up the tab, but you do that every time. And that might be why the Six of Cups came up, because this is a card of reciprocity, right? That like we want there to be balance. We want there to be balance in the giving and the receiving, right? And then this Two of Pentacles, again, is calling for balance. And when we look at this Queen, her cup is upside down. So when a cup is upside down, there's no way to prevent all this stuff from falling out. We had the Four of Pentacles earlier. We had the Four of Pentacles earlier. So like you aren't worried about losing all your money. But you are being called to pay attention to how you spend it, because like sorry, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this like that both make sense, but it's also not blaming or judging, because that's not like it's not my place to judge, and nobody likes that, right? The question for these two cards was, how can you get clear on why you want more abundance? And so I feel like it's not really a question. I think it's a nudge, right? That like you're being encouraged to figure out, why do you want more? Because right now you're not doing great at balancing it, and you're spending a lot of it on other people. So, do you want more abundance? Do you want more financial abundance so that you can spend more on people? And if you are, and if that is what you want, are you making sure that there's reciprocal energy here, that like you're getting back in turn as much as you spend on others? Because there needs to be a balance, right? That we shouldn't always be giving. We shouldn't always be like giving from our cup, because then like other people have their own cup. So like, why aren't they working to fill their cup? They're just taking from our cup, and we're the only ones that can replenish our own cup. So it's like they're working to replenish their cups, but they're taking from yours. And so now you have to replenish your cup for yourself and for someone else. So I don't think the question is like, why do you want to be more financially abundant? I think like you're being nudged to look at like what you want to do with that financial abundance. You know, that like you're being nudged to look at like, how can you balance it, right? Because you can still give to others, but you can't keep giving everything to others all the time, which is really what this Queen of Cups reversed is, right? That like, to turn it upright, you know, the Queen's always aware of her cup and who she's offering it to, you know? So like, that's where that balance comes in. Like, you know, when you offer to pick up the tab and you have that one friend that's like, no, you got it last time, I'm going to get it. It's like, those are the people you want to keep giving it to, you know. But if you have people that like start hanging out because you always pick up the tab, like that's where like this balance has to come back in. And also like that lifestyle, right? That like, is that the only reason that you want abundance? You know, and it's totally okay, you know, that if you always want abundance so that you can just like go out and like spend money as lavishly as you want to, that's totally fine. But again, to go back to that Six of Cups with like those family members, right? Like the older family that is at a place that you will get to one day. Like, what kind of lifestyle do you want when you get to that point? You know, do you want to be 70 picking up the tab? You know, or do you want to, you know, be able to balance more of your finances, and also enjoy like the reciprocity of being around other people that have balanced finances that can share with you. So group number 2, that was your reading. I have the 5 oracle cards for you. So the first one is from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and it is Mars and Sagittarius. And this is a very interesting card. It's domination. Sagittarius has to do with philosophy, faith, belief, and I think that's why there's all these religious symbols here. But, you know, so on the one side of it, there's this value in having a form of faith, right? And like the philosophy around, like, is there something bigger than us? The other end of Sagittarius can be dogma, that there is only one right religion, and there's only one way to do this. And so I feel like that's where this kind of this grappling is coming in, where it's like, this is like the higher vibration of Sagittarius, where it's like there's all these belief systems and they're all valid and it's very interesting, and like, how did these things come about, and like faith is important. And then you have the other end, which is the dogma. Mars is the planet of war, conflict, you know, and so there's a lot of conflict happening here. These two people look very similar. So to me, I feel like this kind of matches up with this Two of Pentacles energy, right? Where there's this really, like, she's really looking at you, very kind of pointed, almost accusatory in a way, how, like, to kind of say, like, how are you going to balance things? How are you going to do this internal grappling to figure out, like, where you want your money to go? like as far as the money that's coming in already, and then what you want to do with that abundance that comes in. Yeah. So the next card is from the Absolute Affirmations deck. I had to look at it. And it is, I am financially secure, which is, I feel like that's absolutely you. Remain open and receptive to all the financial opportunities that life has to offer. Trust that all of your financial needs will be met. Prosperity is yours, and life is plentiful with everything you need to fulfill your desires at your fingertips. Your hard work has paid off. I feel like this card very much aligns with that Four of Pentacles reversed, where it's like, I have enough. It goes out and it comes back in. Next is from the Super Attractor Oracle, I think. I accept that good things come easily. I am a super attractor. And so I think that's why I feel like with this, with this card, like this Two of Pentacles is a money card. It's not an issue of like, why do you want to be abundant or how can you become more abundant? It's an issue of like, what is the intention behind, like, what do you want to do with that abundance? Like, how do you, like there just needs to be, like, there's no issue with it coming in. Like, you're always going to have money coming in. I think the issue is getting very intentional on how you spend it, how you balance it, like what you do with it. Because I feel like there are people around you that are more than happy to take advantage of your generosity. And I kind of feel like you know who those people are, but you give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think the really interesting thing about the saying, like the benefit of the doubt, is that like what you're saying when you give someone the benefit of the doubt is that I am allowing you to benefit from my own doubt in myself, right? Like I am going to let you benefit from my doubt that you're trying to take advantage of me. Just wanted to share that. Okay, so the next card is the Daily Crystal Inspiration, and it is pink opal. The message is be kind to yourself. I feel like that's such a great message for you because you are very generous and kind to other people. So make sure that you are giving yourself some of that kindness and generosity that you are so willing and open to give to others. And the last card is from the Spellcasting Oracle. And it's love. And this is really like, I feel like this is definitely self-love. Like the way she has this like crystal, it almost looks like a heart from here, that she's holding very close to herself. That like, I deserve my own love. I deserve to be kind to myself. I deserve to enjoy my own financial security and my own financial abundance. So, group number 2, that was your financial abundance reading. If you enjoyed the reading, please give me a like. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose the Modern Witch Tarot, this is your reading. So I have picked 6 tarot cards for you for 3 different questions. So the first question is, how are you already abundant? So the first card that came up was the Queen of Cups. So this card is about just having like a really loving heart, like just being a really generous, like caring person towards yourself and towards others. So, we've got this queen here. You might be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, but we've got this queen here and she's holding her cup and she's looking at it, right? She's very intentional about not just what goes into her cup, but also like how much is in there and how much she's giving. So I feel like you're someone that is very kind of in tune or aware of like your own energy and how your energy gets affected by things. So this can be from interactions with people to the kinds of food that you eat to different activities. And so like that kind of sensitivity to your own energy levels kind of expands to like everything else in your life, right? That like just as you're aware of like the things that are taxing on you physically, like you're aware of the things that are mentally taxing. You're aware of like the things that are taxing your bank account, the things that are, you know, taxing your ability to perform the way that you want to perform at work. Like you're just, there's so many parts of our everyday lives that affect these kind of energetic balances in our world, right? That like, yes, food can affect like the energy that we have in our body, but it's like getting into a fight with our significant other can also affect like the energy in our body, right? That like dealing with conflict can affect like, it can affect our digestive system. It can affect like our posture. It can affect our sleep. So you're someone that's like very aware of the way that like you're affected by the world. And so I feel like that has to do with abundance, because you have this abundance of perception, you have this abundance of awareness, and that, you know, that extends beyond just excuse me, that extends beyond just like how things affect you. Like you're very perceptive of the world around you, right? And from a financial perspective, like that can be really beneficial. Like as someone that's aware of how like the economy is functioning or not functioning at, you know, at a certain time, like that can affect the way that you make decisions about your own money. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm losing my voice. So that's one way that you're abundant. The other card that came up for how you are abundant is the moon in reverse. And so the moon card upright is really about kind of illuminating things that aren't seen. So like the way that like a full moon can illuminate like the nighttime, right? That like the world looks different during a full moon. Because normally, you know, normally things are really dark and it's hard to see. And so with a full moon, it illuminates like the night environment, right? But it doesn't light things up in the same way that the sun does. And so like with this card in reverse, like you're able to see things, and this really goes back to that perception. You're able to see things that other people aren't able to see, and that could be that like in some ways like you're highly intuitive to the point that you might have psychic abilities, but what this looks like in a tangible way, like in the tangible world, is that you are able to pick up on the things that aren't said, the things that are kind of left in the dark. And so this might look like having a conversation with someone and you ask a question and you realize that they kind of talked around one specific part of what you asked, you know, and that like you're not the kind of person, especially like this with this Queen of Cups energy, is very like gentle, very empathetic, very, very compassionate. You're not the kind of person that's going to like push to get an answer around the thing that someone left out. You're just highly aware of it, right? And because you're so perceptive, like you kind of collect, or you remember, like collect sounds like kind of a weird word, but you remember when you have interactions with people and there's things that are left out, and those memories, the remembering serves you in a way. And I feel like this is a tricky word, right? It's strategic, but it's strategic on an intuitive level. And I say that strategy is a tricky word because like some people see strategy as it relates to like war and competition, and those are very like low vibration things. But I feel like the way that you like your strategy it's very intuitive, right? And so it's like your brain isn't telling you like, oh, remember that. Your intuition is just like, I'm gonna hold on to that because that is gonna come up later and we need to remember that, and I'll remind you. But I feel like this serves you very well in lots of facets, right? That and in a financial way, what this can look like is that maybe you're working with like a financial advisor, or like you're talking to somebody about money and you ask a question and there's a portion of the question that's not answered, right? Like let's say you're asking about fees, that like, oh, I want to open an investment account and I was wondering, can I set that up online? And then are there fees? And then you have another question, and then you realize that they answered the other two questions but not the one about the fees, and so it's something that you remember. And so like before the conversation wraps up, you're going to be asking that again, right? Like, because usually like when you work with someone, they're like, oh, do you have any last questions? And you're going to be like, yeah, I do. I was curious about the fees, and so then like being able to see and being aware of those things that aren't brought into the light, like that's a really beneficial thing in finances, but just in life in general, because I think a lot of times people will not intentionally, sometimes intentionally, they won't provide us bits of information. And a lot of times people don't, either they aren't aware of it or they are aware and they don't want the conflict of like bringing it back up, because it's like, oh, if I asked once and they didn't answer, it's probably for a reason. And the reason could be that they forgot, or the reason could be that they're avoiding, but you're like, this intuition that you have, like your perceptivity and your intuition, like it doesn't allow you to just let those things go if there's the intuitive nudge that like that has to be brought up again. So I feel like those are really amazing like things that are unconventional abundances, right? So the next question was or is, how can you draw in more financial abundance? And these are sorry, I feel bad when I'm like, look at these cards, because you can't see them because I haven't showed you. So the two cards that came up are the Four of Cups and Judgment. So Four of Cups is about, it can be about not seeing something that's being brought in or being offered to us. Like with her, she's got these 3 cups, not satisfied over it. And then, God's source spirit is like, here, have this other cup. But like when we look at her, she's looking at these. Like, I'm so over this stuff that's not satisfying, but the universe is like, oh, but let me give you this other thing. But she's just not having it. And then the other card, Judgment, this card, the traditional card, is tied to the Bible and like the resurrection, like Judgment Day, where like certain people will rise and certain people won't. But the energy of this card is just second chances, right? That like there's an angel that has an announcement that's essentially letting you know, like, hey, there's a second chance with money. That if you have recently been in a situation where like maybe you had some really great financial abundance for a while, and then something happened and that was taken away, or you had to pay for a big expense, or something happened where you lost that money that you had, and the money that's coming in or the opportunities that are coming in to bring abundance are not up to par. They're not good enough. They're not satisfactory. That universe is bringing something else in. God's source spirit is bringing something else in, and so with the Four of Cups, like we have to keep our eyes open. Like we have to, look up. Like we have to be aware that like something is coming, and that this angel it's heralding, that there's a second chance for your financial abundance. If you haven't had any kind of like significant financial loss, maybe you've plateaued, this is also like, a message that like, hey, there's going to be a leveling up, right? That we can think of the Judgment card as like situation 2.0, that like maybe we went through like a cycle of like earning or saving or something like that, and that like we got okay results, or we saved up as much as we wanted to save, but like it turns out that like that's not enough, or we actually want to save more. Then this Judgment card can also be like that message that, hey, this is round 2, that we're getting a second chance and it's going to be bigger and better. So the way for you to draw in more financial abundance is to kind of let go of those things that are not satisfactory to you, and like chin up, look around, be open to new things that are coming in, because something is coming. So like you just gotta wait till it comes in, but you have to look up. You have to keep your eyes open for those opportunities coming in, because if you just focus on the things that you don't like or you don't want, like you're not gonna see this, right? That like the universe is like bringing it super close, but like the universe is not gonna like hit you over the head with like a bank account, right? That that we have to be aware, we have to be open, and we have to receive it also, right? Which is the tricky part, that like sometimes people struggle to receive that, like especially with this Queen of Cups. She has her own cup that she's holding, like there's nobody else there, so we can kind of assume that like there aren't other people that have been pouring into her cup, and that she's really had to master pouring into her own cup. And so if you've been used to like doing a lot of things on your own, financially, there might be some assistance that's coming in. You just have to be open to it, and you have to be aware of it, and you have to be looking around for it. But this is coming, right? So this financial leveling up, this opportunity is coming. You just have to be aware of it, and you have to be open to receive it, because she's got these arms crossed, right? So even if she saw this, like you have to take it, right? Like you have to reach out and take it. You have to receive it. So the third question is, how can you get clear on why you want more abundance? And this is really beautiful. So the first card that came up was the Three of Wands. So this card is really, it's traditionally, it's a card of management, because like this person is looking at these ships, right? So like they're either kind of keeping tabs on like how the ships are going out, or if the right ships are coming in. And so this is kind of like a higher like guide mentor energy. There's energy behind it, that like when we're intentional about like where our money's going, like we're keeping track of it, right? It's just not going wherever it wants. So this might be some encouragement to just look more closely at like where your money's going and where you want it to go, right? Doing a little bit of planning and managing as far as like where you want the money to go, versus just kind of letting the ships like sail in and out wherever they want. And then the other card that came up was the Six of Cups. And so this is like a really lovely card of reciprocity. It came up in the last reading. And it's a card that's like associated with childhood, right? So we've got this person with this cup, and they're giving it to this child, and they look very similar. So this can even be like you giving to your inner child. Excuse me. I think that there's times that like, there's not times. Like I feel like our childhood affects a lot of our adult life, like the way that we operate in the world, the way that we function. And so I'm curious if there are money beliefs and money habits from your childhood that are making it a little tricky for you now. And so I say that because of this dissatisfaction card, right? That like there's these three cups, and there's dissatisfaction about having three, so it's like, is three not good enough, or are they just not, they're just not the right options, or like what's the dissatisfaction around? Because sometimes like we can have, like I'll use myself as an example, like my mom is from Thailand, and she was not born in a hospital. Like she lived in a village, like didn't have electricity. And so when she grew up, she was like in her 20s, and she moved out of the village that she lived in, and she moved to Bangkok, which is the capital of Thailand. It's a really big city. And so there's a lot of things that she got. Like she got a convertible and a motorcycle, which like blows my mind that my mom drove a motorcycle, because she could like barely merge on the highway now. Granted, she's like 70, but it's like kind of crazy to think about like that. I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, or like these opposites, right? That like she lived in a village with no electricity, and then when she was able to leave as a grown-up, she moved to the big city and got a convertible and a motorcycle, and she had like a English bulldog, which is so weird to me. But so like When, I was growing up as a kid, like there was always this sense around money that there's not enough, and so obviously, like, I don't know what my mom's life was like before I was part of it. So, she grew up, I can assume, like she grew up kind of having nothing and then getting things, but her childhood, was one of like probably scarcity, because like I can't imagine what it's like to live in a village, right? You don't have running water, you don't have electricity, like you're not stockpiling food, right? So it's like, how do you make the best use of the things that you have? And also, like, when there's not a way to preserve things, like you only have what you have. And so that kind of scarcity mindset that there's never enough. Well, you can see that two ways, right? That like in some ways, she always wanted to have the best quality things because, when we grow up really poor, there's judgment around that. Like there's shame around that. And so like she loves like high end thing, like she loves a Louis Vuitton purse, and to me, I can't spend that much on a handbag, because that doesn't make sense to me. Like the money that they're asking doesn't match what I value a handbag to be, because I don't even carry a purse. But also like I didn't grow up in a village, right? And so the other part of like not having enough is that you have to save because you can't live without money in this country, so it's like those beliefs that we get from our childhood, that we get from our parents, they come from the ways that each of us is shaped, right? And so like I didn't experience like not having enough as a child. Like I was really, really fortunate. My parents worked really hard, and we had like a really safe, secure, like middle class upbringing. Never went hungry, like never had food insecurity, never had housing insecurity. But those beliefs around money were still instilled in me from my mom, that like you have to, even if you get married, you gotta have a savings account. Like you have to, because you don't know what that guy's gonna do. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, which is kind of, which is interesting because like I grew up with both my parents, but so those beliefs that we inherit from other people, like we implement them. Even though I didn't grow up not having enough, I still carried on that belief that she gave me. So I say all that, which I know is a lot, sorry, because this Six of Cups has to do with childhood. And so I say it for two reasons, like just to invite you to be aware of like if you're making decisions on your money based on beliefs from your childhood, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes just being aware of it is all we need to be aware of, right? And then also like your inner child, like are there things that like you could offer to your inner child, right? That like if we're operating in like a scarcity mindset where I have to watch where each dollar goes, then like are we able to enjoy the money that we're making? Because like let's be honest, we all work really hard for the money that we make, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying that money, especially like if you're able to be, if you have the luxury of being financially responsible, and you have the luxury of having some money left over, like is there something that would make you happy, that you could purchase for yourself, for that inner child? And that can be something as simple as like getting an ice cream cone, or, like buying a little trinket, or, I don't know, even like, I have these little pens, and they're like all different colors, and they have little like, animal figurines on top of them. And it's like, those are for little Kathy, like 43-year-old Kathy, like she just needs a pen that works. Like take my little notes and write on Post-its. Sometimes I need different colors because colors are big for me. I need different colors to to draw my attention. If everything looks the same, then I don't pay attention to it. But, like those little animal pens, like those are for little Kathy, just like something that brings like a little bit of joy to my day. So I say all of that just to say that, just becoming intentional on why you're doing what you're doing with your money, or like, yeah, how you feel about money, and like, is that rooted in your childhood? And then how can you do something nice financially for your little self? And for some of us, like, financial insecurity, it's traumatic, right? That like there is research that shows that there's trauma associated to long-term financial insecurity, long-term food insecurity, housing insecurity. And so, for you, it might not be buying something trivial for your little self. It might be sitting down and looking at how much money you've saved and knowing that like whatever financial insecurity you grew up around, that like you're breaking that generational curse, that like you are intentionally taking care of yourself so that the things that little you was afraid of will not happen to adult you. And I feel like that's the word that's coming up is like soul soothing, that like you can draw in more financial abundance by using your money in a way that is like soothing and healing for your soul in this lifetime, which I know sounds like super woo-woo hippy dippy, but it feels like there's, for some of you, there's like some big financial insecurity that that like, I mean, this is like for survival stuff, right? And if saving lots of money and living a very, very minimalist lifestyle is what soothes your soul and brings you comfort, it's your money. It's your decision to do whatever you want with, right? And that, for some of us, like buying those little trivial things is how we kind of connect to our inner child. And for others of us, it's like paying bills early, paying bills on time, having money in a savings account is what is really comforting to our inner child. That like there is so much security that if something happens and we don't work for 6 months, we'll still be fine. So I think that, this 3 of Wands, this reflecting and really intentionally looking at like, what do I need? Like, what do I need in regards to like finances? Like, what do I need? Not what the world says that I need. What do I need? Because, when we look at this manager card, like there's nobody else in this card. There's nobody else around anywhere. It's just this one person, that's kind of observing and making decisions. And I feel like that's you, that like, you don't have to take into consideration what the world says. You don't have to take into consideration what your siblings say. You don't have to take into consideration what your friends think. Like, this is your money, and you can do or not do with it whatever makes you feel safe and secure, especially if that has to do with like some internal and generational healing. So yeah, the way to draw in more financial abundance is to really, really take care of yourself on like this deep loving level. And I love that. Yeah. Okay. So next is the Oracle cards. So the first Oracle card that I have for you is from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Ooh, and the message is Enterprise. So this is Jupiter and Aries. This is so interesting. Sorry, I'm looking at there's all these different little symbols on this hand. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, abundance. Aries is the self. And like the independent self, right? The trailblazing self. And hence the number 1. And then I'm looking at these different symbols on the hand. It's like the moon, Venus, Mercury, the sun. I don't know what these other two are. So it's very interesting. So Enterprise, which I feel like really matches up with this kind of management card in a way, this Three of Wands. Like, you know, Enterprise is like looking at this, like really, to me, it feels like very big picture, very, gosh, I feel like enterprise is like a word that we don't really use very often. Like it almost feels a little bit like legacy, right? That like you're looking, it's so expansive from your own perspective that you're like, you may or may not have children, but you are thinking about like the generations after, or like whether you have kids or not. You're thinking about like not their kids, you're thinking about your great grandkids and great grandkids. So I feel like there's some big like that generational healing, yeah, and kind of breaking generational chains, habits, traumas, like cycles. The next card is from the Absolute Affirmations deck, and the message is my feelings are valid. So the message is acknowledge your emotions as they come to pass. Spend time with them and investigate where your feelings are coming from. Understand that you are not your emotions. They do not define who you are, and you have the power to both respect and move beyond them. And I feel like this, you know, this kind of has to do with this card a little bit, you know, like what's causing the dissatisfaction. But I really feel like the processing of those emotions is this Three of Wands, like that solitude, making time and space to really reflect on like what is important to you and the feelings that are coming up around some of this money stuff, like the feelings around like what you want. And because it almost feels like a little bit of internal struggle, you know, that like whether we prescribe to like the beliefs that like the world puts on us, or that like society kind of tries to influence us with, like even if we don't follow those things, it's like they kind of still tumble around in there, right? And so whatever your feelings are around those things, like just allowing yourself to like make the time and space to be alone to process them. Next is a card from the Super Attractor deck, and the message is my Super Attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith and love, and the joy I put out. I feel like, you know, the feelings are valid, and that Queen of Cups card, right? Because she's very intuitive, very feeling, and very expressive, like very not necessarily like emotionally expressive, but like her actions show that she cares. Her actions show that she loves. Her actions show that she like understands people. Next is the Daily Crystal Inspiration, and the message is Moonstone, live your purpose. And you had also gotten the Moon card. Sorry, I'm trying to pick this up. You'd also gotten the Moon card. The moon is associated with Cancer, so you might have some prominent Cancer placements. Moonstone is also like a crystal that's really good for Cancers. The last card is from the Spellcasting Oracle, and it is Closure, which I feel like matches up to this kind of childhood, generational, the actions that you're taking, the decisions that you're making, and especially this second chance with finances, like that's gonna be the action that creates the closure around some of this generational financial trauma. Yeah. So group number 3, that was your financial abundance reading. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 4. So if you chose the Desert Illuminations Tarot. This is your reading. So I have pulled cards for you for 3 different questions. So the first question is, how are you already abundant? So the first card that came up is the King of Chilies, which is the King of Wands. And so you are very comfortable with taking action and making decisions. You have an abundance of decision-making ability and decision-making power. I think that the people around you, whether those are people in your personal life or at work, view you as a very credible decision maker. You're able to consider lots of different things, right? I think good decision makers are able to kind of see things from different perspectives. And they also, like, you're really good at knowing what you know and sharing when you don't know things. And I feel like, looking at this card, how he's given the side eye, like, there's not a whole lot that you, I don't want to say that you don't know, but there's not a whole lot that you're not able to figure out, right? So if there's things that you're not sure about, like, you'll do the research to see if you can understand them. And if you can't, then you'll speak up and say, like, I'm that's not an area that I'm familiar with at all. But I feel like that doesn't happen very often, like, especially him giving the side eye, like, there's not a whole lot I don't know. So a lot of confidence also. The other card that came up is Strength. And so you also have an abundance of strength. And so the Strength card, I think one of the things that's typically in almost every tarot depiction is a feminine figure with some kind of beast, you know. And so the Strength card is not always about overpowering things, right? Because it doesn't always work that way. That obviously, like, this wolf is probably stronger than this woman, right? This wolf could, like, maul this woman if it wanted to. The Strength card is really about figuring out how to massage the situation, if that makes sense. That, like, not every situation requires force. You know, that, like, there's a way to interact with people so that it can be a win-win. There are times that, like, you interact with people that, like, they don't want everybody to win. There are times that you have to force, you know. And so the Strength card is about knowing what tools to use for what project, what issue, what person, if that makes sense. So really strong abundance cards, you know, that, like, you're very I would say you're probably in a leadership position. If you're not, then you have really strong leadership abilities that the people around you invite you to use quite a lot, even if you're not in a management or supervisory role. So I feel like the fact that you are very good at figuring things out, good at making decisions, and also good at figuring out what tools to use when, like, those are huge, like, not just blessings, but, like, huge advantages in the current age that we live in, right? Where you have a lot of people that are operating out of ego, a lot of people that talk about things that they don't know, a lot of people in positions of leadership that should not be there, and a lot of people making decisions that don't know how to make good decisions. So wherever you work, they need to give you a promotion. That's what I think. So the next question is, how can you draw in more financial abundance? And the first card, these two together. You're being invited to make some changes with money. So the World card is the last card in the Major Arcana. It's about endings. It's about closing something out. And the Three of Cups, as you can see, is a little bit of a Three of Cups is usually a celebration card. But I think when we look at these little ladies, there's a little bit of debauchery. There's a little bit of excess. So I feel like the way for you to draw in financial abundance is to wrap up, to close up that kind of party phase, like that excess phase. So if, if you are spending more than you're saving, you're being asked to kind of wrap that up. If you're, if there's a little bit of lack around discipline with your money, like you're being invited to close out that cycle. You know, and there's nothing wrong with like balancing it out. Typically, like the Three of Cups reversed signals excess, but I just feel like the energy of these three ladies, I feel like the energy of this card is like, don't go, buy another drink, stay here, like that. And you might be, I don't want to say you're going to be encouraged to cut people off, like cut out friends, because like these people aren't your friends. And I think you already know that, but you don't really want to, whatever. But this energy is, sorry, my brain is, there's a lot of things coming in because I'm looking at that King of Chilies, who's a very good decision maker, but you know, we put the cards together. Look at how he's looking at them, like this, the side eye, right? Like you know that these people are not authentic, and you know that these people are only trying to get things out of you, but you're coming to a point where it's not as fun as it was before. That before it was like a little bit enjoyable, right? It was like a little game, you know, they're like, oh, don't leave, and like, buy another drink, and like, you know, and so it's like sometimes that is fun, right? Like to be desired or to be wanted, but it's like once the kind of flash and shimmer wears off, that it's like maybe like once a month, you know, after 3 months, it's like, okay, like these chicks are here doing the same thing, and like, wait, you're talking to everybody like that, and like, and it's not. So I think the thing with you being like this really strong decision maker and having like this really wide perspective on things, like it's this isn't as fun as it used to be. So like this ending the cycle isn't, it's not as difficult as maybe like I felt like it was gonna be to receive, right? Because when I saw these two together, I was like, oh man, fun time's over. But I think, you know, for you, it's like you've been seeing that like this is a waste of your time. So as soon as you're able to kind of wrap up the things that you're wasting money on, because you might not drink, right? You might not go out to the bar. Like not everybody is into that. But like there are things where you're kind of wasting money, right? Because like it's one thing to go out with friends, you know, like to meet friends like once a week for like a dinner or like whatever, you know, or like go to a concert, or like even if you have the luxury of like traveling, you know, friends, it's different because it's like this investment. You're investing time and money to enjoy something with people. Like these aren't friends. Like these are just kind of, I feel like the little rainbow, oh, the rainbow's coming out of their cups. It kind of made me think about flies flying around. Like these are just birds trying to get your money. So, you know, as soon as you're able to wrap up that cycle of the things that you're wasting money on, then financial abundance is going to be able to come to you. Yeah, once you're able, because energetically you'll be saying like, hey, okay, I'm done with that phase of like wasting money, and so I'm ready for like the big money to come in. I'm ready for the serious money to come in. I got that out of my system. It almost feels the same as like dating, right? That like when you're over like just like hooking up with people and you're ready to have a serious relationship, then you start looking for more serious people, or more serious people with more serious intentions start to come in, or it's easier for you to filter out the people that are not serious. The third question is, how can we get clear, or how can you get clear on why you want more abundance? So you actually had 3 cards come through. Everybody else had 2. So, the first one that is catching my eye is the 7 of Cups. So Seven of Cups, I feel like for this card, it can mean a couple things, but for this card, I feel like it's a sense of overwhelm. So we've got this person in the shadows, kind of the arms out, like, whoa, this is a lot. Because they're just like a lot of weird things, you know? Like, I don't want a ghost. And like, do I like snakes? I don't know. I'm like, that's nice cactus. Like, oh, rainbow. Like it's all these like random things. And so you just need to figure out like what you want money for, right? Because it's not necessarily that you're like, oh, I want all the money, right? We're not even at the abundance point. It's like, I have to figure out like what I want to spend the money I have on. Like, what are my intentions for like how I use this money? Because, you know, right now it's kind of random, you know, a little wasteful, like we talked about, ending that cycle. But also like there's a lot of different options, right? So it can be overwhelming. And so just taking some time to figure out like, do I want to invest long term or short term, or do I want to do a little bit of both, you know, to kind of figure out like some of that balance? How do I get clear? And so the great thing, you know, with the King of Wands is that like you're a really good decision maker, you're a really good researcher, you're really good at figuring things out. So I feel like you just kind of need the time and space to let yourself kind of be like, oh, there's too many things. And then, you know, once you get that out of your system, then it's like, okay, let me dig into learning about high yield savings accounts, because that's kind of interesting to me. Or let me look at a money market, because I want to be able to access my money still, but I definitely want to take advantage of my money making money for me. So that's one part of how you can get clear on why you want more abundance. The other two cards that came up are both cards of scarcity, and they're upside down, or they're in reverse. So let me show you upright. So Four of Cups is, it might not be a card of scarcity, but it's just not seeing the abundance that's around you, right? Like this kind of like not being aware of like what, gosh, in addition to kind of being overwhelmed by all the things that your money can do, or all the things that you can do with money, there's also things that you're not seeing about money, that like about what money can do for you, or like what you can do with your money when it comes in. And so I feel like in the research that you do to figure out what you want to do with your money, like there's going to be something that comes up where you're like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. Like that seems really fun. Like, let me do that. Because I feel like you don't have an issue with like you're financially secure, like the money flows in, and like there's not anything coming up in your life that like is gonna put a halt to that, you know what I mean? Like you're in a really secure job, like you like your money's good, but it could be amazing, right? And so I think there's gonna be a thing that comes in that you're like, oh my gosh, like what, this is so cool, like let me totally do that. The other card that came up was the Five of Pentacles reversed. And so Five of Pentacles upright, I feel like this card is like, I don't know why I'm having a hard time like making the words. It's the same energy of like not seeing something, but like this is like not seeing something that's coming in, and like this is like not like not being aware of the thing that keeps coming my brain. I'm struggling with it because it doesn't make sense. Like not being aware of what your money's doing, not being aware of where your money's going, maybe. I feel like, okay, so like there's these little things, and then there's these alien spaceships floating away. And so like the message is coming up is like you're leaking money, and like you're not aware of it, because what's coming, like, I don't know why I'm like really struggling, because I'm like seeing a lot of different things. Like I'm seeing like a water leak, which is, I don't know if you have a house, maybe like for some of you, there might be an issue with like a water leak, or can be like, when your toilet runs and like you're not really aware of it, and then it's like your water bill comes in, it's like really huge because like it's always running the water, right? So it's like you're like leaking money, you're leaking water, so it racks up your water bill. So hopefully your water stuff is fine. So like, just if you're not sure, just check. But it feels like you're leaking money. And so it's like, I don't know if you have like different subscriptions that you're not using. Like if you have, and I think it's because you're financially secure, like you always have money left over at the end of your paycheck. And so I think because you're not monitoring where your money's going, you're not aware that like this money is leaking out. So I would just check. I would definitely check your bank account more frequently, because if you're getting charged for things that you shouldn't be charged for, or if there's any kind of like fraudulent charges, like I wish I had like words to explain, but it's like it's just leaking out, and it's like a trickle, right? So it's like so small that it's like hard to notice, but like those small things add up. So the way that you can get more clear on, this is just kind of a warning, like, hey, look at your bank account because there's some things leaking out. There's just little things. It's like getting kind of nipped, like just getting kind of like little small bites that turn into a big wound is like what this feels like to me. So this is preventing the abundance. But also, just getting clear on what you want to do with your money. And then being aware that like something is going to come in, something surprising is going to come in, for you, like something positive. This isn't like a bill, like an unexpected bill. Like this is an opportunity that's going to come in for you to like maybe invest. And so getting clear on these things is going to be really beneficial for this. So that was the tarot portion. So next I have the 5 different oracle cards for you. So the first one is from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and the card is Fulfillment. Oh, we got this big old bag of money. Look at that. Heck yeah. Very positive. Next card is I make a positive impact. And the message on the back is you have the power to positively change someone's day, week, or life with a small gesture. Be mindful in your interactions with others and spread love and light. You are a beacon of happiness that illuminates the path of those around you near and far. That's lovely. Next is from the Super Attractors deck, and the message is to begin the practice of allowing. I must get out of the way and let Spirit give me direction. I feel like that one definitely lines up with this 7 of Cups. Just taking some time and space to figure out what you want to do with your money. Next is from the Daily Crystal Inspiration, and it's Black Tourmaline, Protect Your Energy. And that one definitely matches up to these 3, because of your financial abundance and your generosity, there's these kinds of people, the takers, like they're very aware of how open you are to giving. So, make sure that you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your pockets. Just saying. And the last card is from the Spellcasters Oracle. Spellcasters? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Spellcasters Oracle. And the card is Confidence, which is you very much have as the king of, as the king of wands, as the strong decision maker that you are. Very much so. So group number 4, that was your reading. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 5. So if you chose the Light Seers Tarot, this is your reading. So I have pulled 6 tarot cards for you to answer 3 different questions. So the first question is, how are you already abundant? So, okay. So we've got, the first card is the Chariot. And this card is connected to Cancer, but this card is also, I think of it as like the Uber of the universe. So the Chariot is about us being taken towards something, right? That like we don't have to steer the chariot. Like we've got this person, the charioteer on top of the chariot that's being pulled by these 2 horses, but like he's just along for the ride, right? He's not like guiding them, he's not steering them, he's not figuring out the navigation. Like he's just in the Uber going for the ride. And so the abundance that you have is that you get a lot of these opportunities where, and I think it's because you're so open to spirit, like you're so open to just surrendering to the experience, that like you have a lot of opportunities that come that you just kind of get taken into something else, where like you've probably gotten jobs that people are like, how did you get that job? And you're like, I just talked to this guy and they were hiring. like I feel like you kind of have like this really good luck in certain aspects of your life. Like I don't think that you would describe yourself as lucky. I think that you would probably say that like you have had a lot of times that you happen to be in the right place at the right time. And so that comes from your like your faith and your connection to like God's source spirit, right? That you're really open to the messages, like the nudges, kind of the inklings of things that come up, right? Where it's like, and you might not even be consciously aware of it. Like you might have a feeling like, oh, I should go to this place, and like you don't give it a second thought, you just go, and then something happens, and you don't really put a lot of stock into keeping track of those things either, right? That you're not like, last time I had this feeling, this happened. You're just like, oh, I'm supposed to go over here. And then you just go, you just do it because you're that open, which I feel like is a huge, like, that's a huge gift. And then the other card that came up is the Ace of Pentacles. And so this is a card of, aces are new beginnings, and pentacles obviously are around like time, money, energy. And so one of the abundances that you have is that like I feel like it's really the same message. Like there's a lot of opportunities that come your way, and that you're really like, you're just financially blessed in a way that like doesn't make sense to people, that like a lot of times people are like, I have to save and I have to do this and I have to do that. And for you, it's, that you take advantage of the opportunities when they come, right? So I feel like a good example of this is like during the pandemic, when they were doing like the stimulus checks, I didn't need a new car. My car was fine, but there was a email, I think, that came out from Subaru, like I'm on my 3rd Subaru. Like I just love Subarus. And so an email came out and it was like, hey, we're offering 0% interest on all 2020 Subarus, and like go here to see if you qualify. And it was like, I'm a Capricorn rising, so like money, I love money. I love managing money. I love finances. Obviously, like if you listen to the intro, like you hear me talk about money, but I had to take advantage of this opportunity because I was like, never in my lifetime will I have a 0% interest car loan. So like of all the times to like get a new car, why not? Right? Because I have a car that, and I think I had gotten my, let me think. I got my last Subaru in like 2014 or maybe 2015. So this is 2020. So it's like my car was like 5 or 6 years old, which is not old. Like it was like, I feel like Subarus are great cars. But I was like, I mean, I kind of was thinking about like, maybe I should look at getting a new car. Like, well, not should get one, but like maybe I might like one, and like what would I like in my next car, and like, and so this came up and I was like, I have to take this opportunity, if nothing else, just to tell the world that I got 0% interest on my loan because of the pandemic. But so I feel like these are the things that happen to you, right? Where like things will come up and you're like, yeah, let me take advantage of that. Like, sure, why not? You know, or even like with and I feel like these two energies really go together, you know, that the universe is like, hey, go to this place. And then you get there and it's like, hey, you are you looking for a job? Like you seem like a really fun person, and like you seem like you get along well with others. And that's really what we're looking for in our company. And you're like, I mean, I'm not, but I would love to go into a new field, like, or I'd love to do a new thing, or like, yeah, I've been thinking about moving to that area. And so I feel like those are your abundances that like you are so open to receiving like messages and nudges from the internet, from the universe. Maybe the internet, I don't know, from the universe. And those lead you to these opportunities that like people normally don't get to experience because they're kind of closed off and you're just so open. So I think that's so fun and awesome. I just love it. The next question is, how can you draw in more financial abundance? And these are great cards. So the first card is the Devil in reverse. And so if we're going to get the devil, we want him upside down. So this is the devil upright, and we can see he's got his hand out, right? And he's got his little glowy hair that like really looks like horns. But he's got this person that he's got, kind of attached to these strings. And so the devil card is really about the things that bind us, the things that keep us wrapped up, the things that keep us stuck. And having it in reverse is saying that, like, fortunately, you know what those things are and you really have to cut them off, right? So the way to draw in more financial abundance is to be aware of the ways that you're spending that are attached to maybe like excess. I mean, a lot of times, like, the devil has to do with excess. It has to do with addiction. The things that have power over us, right? So, like, you might have a subscription that you don't want to cancel because you don't want to have that conversation about canceling it. Because, like, the manipulation is hard, and like, I just don't want to spend this $7 on this thing anymore. Like, just please cancel it. And so if you're in that situation where like that confrontation is hard, I would look at ways that you can cancel it without calling someone on the phone. Like, they might have a chat function, there might be an email, there might be a form. But if there's other things where like you are spending money that like ordering food every night instead of just like making yourself cook, that could be like an excess, right? So once you become more aware of those things, like the way that you're kind of spending in excess or wastefully, that's going to really help you to draw in more financial abundance, because you won't be kind of wasting money in a way. And then the other card is the Three of Pentacles. And so this is a card of both collaboration, but also of mastery. And so the two things that come to mind with this are like considering like talking to other people about money, people that you trust, people that you know are really good with money, or even someone that's a professional, someone that's a mastery of money, right? Like a financial advisor or something like that. But also, if you've been considering like starting a little side hustle or even getting a second job or like contracting your services or anything like that, you're a master at something and you can monetize that. And so that might be like, you might start tutoring, or you might, let's say you have like a skill, you might offer classes where you teach people how to learn that skill that you've mastered. You might come together with a group of people to like start a little bit of like a side hustle or something like that. And so those are like two ways that you can draw in like financial abundance, that you can talk to a professional or talk to some other people about money, or you can talk to some others or consider ways that like you can do it by yourself or working with others to draw in extra money based on like a skill that you can provide because you're a master at it. And then last is, how can you get clear on why you want more financial abundance? So the two cards that came up, are the Magician and the Nine of Cups. And so to me, like, hey, quit. To me, the thing that comes up is you already know the why. You want financial freedom. This Nine of Cups, like if we look at this person, like the cups are all over the place and they're just like stretched out, right? And there's this treasure chest down here. Cups is usually associated with love, but I feel like because we're talking about financial abundance, this is, you know, the energy, the money all around you, especially with the treasure down here, that you want. Like you want more money so that you can be financially free. And financial freedom looks different for everybody, right? Like for some people, financial freedom is like not having credit card debt. For some people, financial freedom is like owning their home outright. For some people, financial freedom is having a balance between the energy that they have to put into working and the freedom they have to spend their time however they want, and being able to have the financial stability to afford the lifestyle that they currently have. And so I feel like that's really like what you're looking for. And with the Magician card, to me, like you're wanting to be an entrepreneur. You're wanting to work for yourself. Like you don't want to work for anyone else. You know, the Magician, I don't know if the Magician is traditionally associated with entrepreneurs, but I feel like it very much has that energy, because the Magician can take all, excuse me, the Magician can use all of the tools at his disposal to create whatever he wants, right? And that's really what an entrepreneur is, that they've amassed enough like skills and knowledge that they can be self-employed. Like they understand how taxes work, or they have a person that can help them with taxes. They understand enough about the industry that they're in and the way that business works, and maybe even marketing, that they can like be a one person show as far as like a business. And so I feel like you already know, or maybe you're knowing now that like this is what you want abundance for. You want to be self-employed and you want to have the freedom of time, which to you is financial freedom, like having enough money to live a comfortable, safe life, but not being a slave to clock in, clock out style of work. Which I feel like is really like a lot of people I think are drawn to that, just because, especially with like when Saturn came into Aquarius, Saturn is like the structures, Aquarius is the collective, but Aquarius is also associated with like authenticity and freedom, and a new way of doing things, like innovation and advancements. Saturn has to do with our structures, right? Like, and we have a structure of work. And the current structure of work that most people operate within is that your employer owns your time for in exchange for the money that they pay you, whether there's productivity happening or not. And I think a lot of people don't like that, because it's like, if I'm not doing anything, why do I have to be here? But our system of work isn't based on like paying for the amount of productivity that you create or that you contribute to. I also feel like with this, it makes me think of, you know, the opportunities being carried towards something. So if you're wanting to manifest a new, like if you're not ready to be a full-on entrepreneur yet, but you're wanting to manifest like this feeling in a job, you can absolutely do that. Because with the Magician card, like you can manifest, you can draw, and you can create whatever you want. You can also ask the universe to bring it to you, right? Or you can be open to it. You know, you can say, hey, universe, like I really want to transition away from the current employment that I'm in now, and I want way more freedom of time, but I also want financial security. So can you bring something? And, you know, one of your abundances, like that opportunity is going to come up for you. Yeah. And I also feel like, with this mastery card, like the thing that you have developed some mastery around is probably the thing that you would do as an entrepreneur. So if you have been considering that side hustle, you can think about it as like a trial run for your entrepreneurial business. Just something to consider. So that was the tarot portion of the reading. And so I'm going to show you your oracle cards. So the first one is from the... sorry, I can't remember the name, so I keep the deck down there. It's the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And it's the Sun in Leo, which is fortune. And I feel like it very much matches this Ace of Pentacles card, right? We've got the circles, the yellow. The Ace of Pentacles is about opportunity, and you're very fortunate, which is it's beautiful. The next card is from the Absolute Affirmations. I want to call it the Affirmators deck, but that's not what it's called. The message is, my words have power. Be intentional with everything you say. Use your words consciously and purposely to elevate, encourage, or inspire yourself and others. Honor the power of words and the actions and manifestations they become. So, I feel like that really lines up with this Magician card, right? That like you can speak things into existence. Next is the Super Attractors, or a card from the Super Attractors deck. The message is, when I'm patient, I let the universe do for me what I cannot do for myself. Just being open to when the Uber of the universe arrives. Just waiting for that chariot to come and pick you up and take you to the next opportunity. Next is the Daily Crystal Inspiration card, and it's Aquamarine, and the message is, go with the flow, which I feel like you already do. With this Chariot card, just working with the universe, being patient. Also this Magician card, right? We've got some of the same colorings in there. And the last card is from the Spellcasting Oracle, and the message is travel. So the Chariot card can also what is the word? Not predict, portend? Travel that's coming up. This imagery kind of matches the Six of Swords, which is a card of moving on. So this might be also a message about letting go of the things that don't serve you, moving on from the things that don't serve you, traveling away from the things that don't serve you. Especially if you're in a position where like you don't really want to move, like you like where you are, or like you're not really big into travel. It could be metaphorical as far as like moving on from the things that don't serve you. So group number 5, that was your financial abundance reading. So if you enjoyed that, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And I just want to say thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.